Warcraft, the Tree of Eternity. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51, Exploring Again. Because the Wolfhound Point Man tribe was wiped out and the road to the south was opened, Yufei did not let Tyrande wait until the Night Elves had an advantage before setting off. Instead, after a short rest, he immediately went to explore the south again. In this way, by noon, the first echelon led by Tyrande will be able to reach the place where the Wolfhound Point Man tribe was originally located, and then rest for an afternoon and set off at night. In fact, there was no need to rest, because the trained Night Elves would not feel tired at all, but the Forest Wolf tribe was a little bit overwhelmed. After experiencing two major battles this night, it is still necessary to rest well. I just don't know how powerful the force of the Wolfhound Point Man tribe is further south. But now the first echelon is full of elite strength. Even if the opponent is very strong, I think it will not be much worse than the opponent. Yufei has to train a total of 30 archers and 15 female hunters. The ancient tree of war will consume 30 minutes to train each unit. That is, it will take a total of 22.5 hours. It is almost the next morning. At that time, Yufei's second echelon was trained, and Yufei's first migration plan could begin. The whole day was spent in the salutes of the archers and huntresses when they were trained, and the night that Yufei was looking forward to arrived. 3 bright moons rose again from the east, and Yufei began to absorb the energy in the moonlight. But what he was more concerned about was Tyrande's second exploration journey. The last exploration was interrupted because Tyrande had to use the scroll to return to the city because of the invasion of the damn tree demon. However, this also greatly improved the strength of the first echelon led by Tyrande, making the exploration journey safer. Although it wasted a day, it was worth it. After all, Yufei is now the Tree of Life, and his lifespan is unknown. One day is nothing. When the 3 bright moons rose in the east, Tyrande led his men to leave the Wolfhound Point Man tribe, leave the ruins of the Wolfhound Point Man tribe without Yufei's order, and continued to move south. During this exploration, Tyrande ordered all forest wolves and night elves to remain vigilant. After all, unknown enemies are the most terrifying. As they walked, Yufei discovered through a god's perspective that the further south they went, the sparser the trees became, and the land under Tyrande's feet began to become dry. Are we going out of the wind-whispering forest? Although it was night, the further south they went, the more Tyrande and her friends felt that both the air temperature and the ground temperature had risen a lot. No way. Although it is said that the further south you go in the northern hemisphere of the earth, the hotter it gets, but this is the Esraz continent. According to the information I have obtained, this continent is 10 times larger than the Eurasian continent. Even if it is also a planet with a difference in temperature zones, it will not be so obvious. How far have we walked? After receiving the news from Tyrande, Yufei was puzzled. The exploration team continued to walk south. The trees had gradually disappeared, and the land under their feet was getting drier and drier. Of course, the air temperature and ground temperature have also become very high. According to Yufei's calculations, the temperature has reached 35 or 36 degrees. You know, it's night now. But soon, Yufei was no longer surprised by this abnormal situation. Because, with the light of 3 bright moons and the extraordinary vision of the Night Elves at night, Yufei saw a mountain in the distance. This mountain is not very high, but a pillar of black smoke has been coming out from the top of the mountain. Look at the shape of the top of the mountain. Isn't this a crater? No wonder the temperature rises. There should be a magma lake in the crater, which makes the temperature in the surrounding area rise a lot. And the crater appears here. There must be a magma layer under the feet, so it's no wonder that the ground temperature is very high and the soil is dry, making it impossible for plants to grow. Although the volcano can be seen, it is still a distance away, and Yufei is not ready to let Tyrande explore it. In such a harsh environment, even if there are some gold mines, energy mines, etc., I'm afraid that the ancient trees will not be able to take root. And what if the fragile elves accidentally run into the magma layer? Although an elf is quite cheap, but mosquito legs are still meat, right? We can't make unnecessary sacrifices. Under Yufen's order, Tyran changed the route of advance and took an arc to bypass the volcano. After all, the closer to the volcano, the higher the temperature. If the environment is too bad, it will also affect the march of the exploration team. On the dryland, Tyran led the exploration team around in circles and continued to advance to the south. Yufen was a little bored after watching for a while. After all, the dry wasteland in front of him was always unchanged, and there was really nothing to see. So, he didn't observe Tyran's march anymore. After giving Tyran an order to contact him, after discovering any abnormal situation, he devoted himself to studying his Yuan Muzenju. In the last battle when the tree demon attacked, Yufen felt the power of Yuan Muzenju for the first time. In addition to the will reading technique that was useless in combat, he only knew 3 spells, but these 3 spells all played a huge role in that battle. Yufen was very satisfied with the huge restrictive and lethal force of the combination of vines and wood thorns, as well as the super simplified version of the quiet rain of moistening. If things continue like this, he will definitely be stronger than a hero. I wonder if he will become a Black Mountain demon. Of course, Yufen also knew that he only knew a few low-level spells, and the power of these spells was not great. It was only because he contained the highest level of wood-related spiritual energy in the Yuan Muzenju, Yuanling Wood Key. Using Yuanling Wood Key to cast spells would of course greatly increase the power. Moreover, in the battle against the tree demon, if there were no forest wolves and night elves, even if he used these spells, it would not have much effect. After all, the Yuanling Wood Key that he could mobilize was still very little. After the battle against the tree demon, Yufen found that he could also gain experience from the enemies he killed, but the way to gain experience was that he could control more Yuanling Wood Key. The Yuanling Wood energy that he could use before was only enough to use 6 low-level spells, and it would take some time to mobilize it after it was used up. But after this battle, the Yuanling Wood energy that he could directly use was enough to use 8 low-level spells. Moreover, it seemed that he could use a new spell. Yufen closed his eyes, entered the state of cultivation, and began to understand his current situation in detail. TODAY' first chapter. No one has rewarded me, so I can't thank them. Please click on the members. The category click list is always exploded. By the way, let me tell you that the Hangzhenjiuqian Zhang book friend group 246,883,016 is full. Book friends who want to join the group, please join Hangzhenjiuqian Zhang's second book friend group 200,601,869. Chapter 52 Planting Technique. In addition to being able to control more Yuanling Wood Key, Yufen has another spell to use. After learning about this spell, Yufen has more confidence in his initial migration plan. The name of the new spell is Plant Walking Spell. After using this spell, plants can walk under the control of the caster, and the speed is not slow. However, the duration of this spell is only 30 minutes, and it consumes a lot of Yuanling Wood Key. Although it is also a low-level spell, if you calculate it, based on the Yuanling Wood Key that Yufen can control now, it can be used 3 times in a row. Yufen frowned. It is too troublesome to always use a certain spell several times to calculate the Yuanling Wood Key that can be controlled. It would be great if it could be quantified like magic points and skills. Yufen thought about it, sank his consciousness into his body, and began to use the quantification system of the Tree of Life, the main base of the elves, to quantify the total amount of Yuanling Wood Key and spell consumption. After a while, the quantification was completed, and a page appeared in Yufen's mind. Controllable Yuanling Wood Key. 850 skills. IV Overgrowth. Consumes 100 Yuanling Wood Key Wood Thorn Technique. Consumes 100 Yuanling Wood Key Moisturizing Technique. Consumes 150 Yuanling Wood Key Planting Technique. Consumes 250 Yuanling Wood Key after quantification. The Yuanling Wood Key and spell consumption that can be controlled by oneself are clear at a glance, and it is easier to plan when casting spells. This planting technique is a large-scale spell, and it just so happens that he is reluctant to part with the 1,000-year-old trees around him. They can all be directly transformed into ancient protectors, and some of the older ancient trees can be transformed into elite or even elite ancient protectors. With this planting technique, these ancient trees can be migrated with him. What? In addition to the Black Mountain Old Demon, he also has a tendency to transform into a tree herder. If there were other ancient trees of life, they would definitely think that they had mutated. At this time, the ancient war tree had trained 20 archers and 10 female hunters. The second echelon had already begun to take shape. When all the units were trained in the morning, they could migrate. In Euphena's plan, Tyrant would explore while he walked south, which would save some time. Moreover, didn't the wolf dog tribe discover a gold mine with a reserve of 200,000 units of gold? Let's collect it first. After investigating his own situation, Eupheny entered a deep state of cultivation to increase the upper limit of the yuan lingwood key he could control. When he woke up, he just saw the 3 full moons setting in the west. Is it the next morning? Eupheny first observed Tyrant's side from a god's perspective. Tyrant led the first echelon for a whole night. In the first half of the night, they walked out of the wind-whispering forest and came to a wasteland with volcanoes one after another. In the second half of the night, they kept moving forward on this wasteland. Because the wasteland was too hot, the forest wolves had to rest every time they walked a distance, so they didn't go far. In the morning, the temperature of the volcanic wasteland rose to a level in vain, and because they walked in an arc, Tyrant and the others didn't even finish half of the wasteland. Eupheny thought about it carefully. It was still morning. According to the information Tyrant fed back, the temperature of the volcanic wasteland had reached about 40 degrees, the ground temperature was higher. Then by noon, the temperature would probably reach a terrifying height. No, I have to let Tyrant and the others retreat first, and wait until I migrate to the ruins of the Wolf Dog Point Man tribe and settle down, and then allocate time to explore. After receiving Euphony's order, Tyrant immediately led the forest wolves and the night elves to retreat as quickly as possible. Euphony didn't feel the slightest bit of shame for letting his men run back and forth without even saying a word, but turned his eyes to the second echelon that had been trained in front of him. 30 archers and 15 female hunters stood neatly on the grass, waiting for Euphony's order. Euphony ignored them and put the 2 newly built moon wells into the life space. Then, he made the ancient war tree, the miracle ancient tree and the ancient protector stand up and put them into the life space. At this time, Eupheny was the only one on the grassland except for the second echelon units. Eupheny paused for a moment and began his first stand up. Under Euphony's feeling, his roots deeply rooted in the soil pulled out at a slow speed, and then the roots tangled and intertwined, and soon formed 4 wooden legs. He tried to take 2 steps, and the speed of his steps was indeed very slow. However, because of his huge body, the distance he took in 1 step was not short, and his moving speed was not very slow in general. After standing up, Eupheny did not forget the ancient trees around him. Planting spell. Eupheny cast this spell after consuming 250 yuan lingwood key. But after the spell enveloped the dense forest, the ancient trees around him did not change much and did not grow legs like Eupheny. Did the spell fail? Eupheny felt it carefully and found that he could already feel the vague consciousness of the ancient trees around him, so he tried to order the ancient trees to move. The scene that happened next made Eupheny a little speechless. All the ancient trees moved southward according to Euphony's order. But, what is the floating soil plowed up on the ground? It turns out that after the use of the planting technique, plants can be moved, but the roots move directly in the soil to drive the entire plant forward. Unlike the ancient trees of the Night Elves, they directly grow 4 legs to move on the ground. The disadvantage of the planting technique is that the advancement of plants will leave obvious traces, the soil turned up on the ground. But it is good to be able to migrate these precious trees. Eupheny does not ask for too much. There are traces. Controlling more than 100 ancient trees around, Eupheny began the initial migration, and the second echelon of night elves walked in front of the ancient trees under Euphony's order to open the way. Looking at the ancient trees around him moving forward with him, Eupheny couldn't help but start to fantasize. If there are enough resources, there will be more than 100 ancient protectors and many of them can be transformed into elite or even elite ones. If anyone dares to invade my base, I can just wave my hand and throw more than 100 boulders. What enemy can stop them from migrating all the way here? Countless animals are stunned by the movement of this mighty forest. Second update today. Thanks to Nangang Jianlin for the reward of 100 starting coins and 1 evaluation ticket. Please push and receive the reward. Chapter 53 Initial Migration. The speed of movement granted by the planting spell was not slow. After 3 planting spells, they had advanced 1/5 of the target distance. Along the way, countless animals were frightened by the moving forest and fled everywhere, but all this had nothing to do with Yufei. Yufei, who had stopped, was trying to restore the spiritual wood energy that he could control. After all, he was just controlling the spiritual wood energy that already existed in his body. In less than 20 minutes, Yufei restored the consumed spiritual wood energy. Then, there was another hour and a half of moving forests, which was spent repeatedly using the planting spell and restoring the spiritual wood energy that could be controlled. After more than 7 hours, Yufei finally brought more than 100 ancient trees and the second echelon of the Night Elves to the original site of the Wolf Dog Point Man tribe. After letting the ancient trees form a circle and take root, Yufei interrupted the last planting spell. After moving the miracle ancient tree and the war ancient tree out of the life space and taking root, this migration was almost completed. As for the Hunter Hall and the 5 moon wells, it is better to leave them in the life space. Anyway, it will not affect the research of technology and the use of moon water. When Yufei turned the 4 wooden legs into tree roots and pierced into the soil, there was another prompt in his mind. After sinking his consciousness into his mind, Yufei found the prompt information. A resource collection point has been detected. Do you want to assimilate it? Of course. Otherwise, why did you spend 9 hours running so far? Yufei's roots passed through the ground and entangled with the gold mine area. A gold mine was found with 200,000 units of gold. It takes 20 minutes to assimilate. Assimilation is in progress. After 20 minutes, Yufei separated 5 of the existing 15 elves to start collecting gold, and the other 10 found 10 trees to start collecting wood. The elves did not collect wood by cutting it down. They entangled in the trees to speed up the tree's absorption of aura, and the wood obtained by the elves was transformed by this part of aura through the trees, so it would not damage the trees. At this time, Tyrant had already led the first echelon back to the Whispering Wind Forest. On the way back, Tyrant couldn't help but feel lucky, because on the way back, although they were getting farther and farther away from the volcano, the temperature was getting higher and higher as time approached noon. Fortunately, Yufei's order was issued early, so they were able to march back to the Whispering Wind Forest before noon, and the temperature of the volcanic wasteland had reached an unbearable level at this time. Not long after Yufei took root, Tyrant and the others returned to the Wolf Dog Point Man tribe. Seeing the newly trained archers and huntresses, Tyrant and other Night Elves were very happy. After upgrading to the elite level, the wisdom and emotions of ordinary units have also been improved to a certain extent. Seeing so many new sisters appear, there is naturally no reason to be unhappy. Tyrant, Avril and Luna, who have high wisdom, thought more. Although these newly trained archers and huntresses do not have the strength of elite units, they are also a huge improvement to the overall strength of the Night Elves. The first and second echelons now have 54 archers, 24 of which are elite, and 25 female hunters, 10 of which are elite. In addition to these 2 main combat arms, there are 5 glaive throwers for attacking buildings. In addition to the Forest Wolf tribe, whose strength has also been greatly improved, Yufei is not afraid, even if he encounters an enemy of the same strength as the complete Tree Demon tribe. What needs to be done now is to collect this new gold mine with peace of mind, and then expand the power again. In this way, after entering the Warcraft mountains, there will be the power to protect oneself. Yufei has longed for the Warcraft mountains for a long time. He only knew about the Warcraft mountains for 1 or 2 days. Even if he can't find any gold mines, energy mines, etc., he can get energy by letting the Forest Wolves and Night Elves hunt Warcraft to obtain magic crystals. A level 6 energy crystal, that is, the magic crystal of a level 6 Warcraft, can be converted into 2000 units of energy. So what about the level 7? What about the level 8? Yufei was confident that with Tyrant's current strength, it would be absolutely no problem to pick up an 8th level magic beast. Even a 9th level magic beast equivalent to the epic level would have to suffer under the group fighting tactics of the Night Elf army. Of course, Yufei also considered that it was not worthwhile to directly absorb higher level magic crystals. In the human world, a higher level magic crystal can definitely be exchanged for a low level magic crystal with a value that exceeds the energy it contains. For example, in that diary, Yufei saw a record that the second son of the Grand Duke purchased a 5th level magic crystal from a mercenary for 5,000 gold coins. Just by exchanging it for gold coins, he could make a net profit of 300 units of energy. What's more, 5,000 gold coins can be used to purchase 1,000 first level magic crystals, which is 1,000 units of energy. This is a 5-fold difference. But now Yufei has no choice. First, he can't contact humans and can't exchange. Second, even if he contacts humans, he may not be able to trade with humans. After all, in the novel, humans from other worlds would capture elves and sell them as slaves, and Yufei didn't want to come into contact with humans when he was not strong enough. Therefore, although it was a waste to directly absorb the magic crystal, it was the only way now. When you enter the Warcraft mountains and accumulate enough energy, you can evolve into an ancient tree. When you build the ancient tree of knowledge and the ancient tree of wind, your troops will not be so single. At the ancient tree level, you can train mountain giants, tree elves, raptor druids, and claw druids. Among them, mountain giants and claw druids are what Yufei has been looking forward to for a long time. Mountain giants are completely meat shields, which can provide protection for the fragile ranged troops of the Night Elves. Although the claw druids are not as thick-skinned as mountain giants, they are also good in close combat, and they are also half auxiliary units. Not only that, when you reach the ancient tree level, the Night Elves will have an air force. Hippogriffs and fairy dragons can be trained at the ancient tree level, and hippogriffs can also be combined with archers to become hippogriff riders, which are more mobile. By then, the kite flying tactics can be perfectly used. Our first update today. Thanks to Shwelin for 300 starting coins, Blood Moon Star Meteorite for 200 starting coins, and Poster of EB 588 for the starting coins. At 1400 hours today, Hangchen will be on Sanjiang channel. Please support us and vote for Sanjiang. Chapter 54 Super Dirty Flow. Moreover, when it evolves to the ancient tree, another hero can be released, but what should the second hero be? This is quite tangled. According to Yufei's idea, at the ancient tree level, the melee of the Night Elves is enhanced, so it stands to reason that the jungle guardian is good because he has a thorn aura that can reflect melee damage. But the demon hunter was not released in the first round, and it would be a bit unreasonable if the second round is not released. However, it is a bit early to think about these problems now. After all, 32,000 units of energy are not so easy to get. Now this gold mine will only have 20,000 units of energy, even if it is collected, and I have to expand my strength to enter the Warcraft mountains. Now I can only hope that there will be enough energy in the Warcraft mountains. While collecting gold mines, Yufei did not let Tyrant idle. The last time I wiped out the wolf dog tribe, I only killed all the middle and higher level gnarls and kobolds. The low level gnarls and kobolds all scattered when the kobold fortune teller was captured, and the forest wolves and night elves killed the middle and higher level gnarls and kobolds. Although they are low level gnarls and kobolds, they have both ranged and melee units. It is better to kill them all, otherwise it will be a threat to this temporary station. Under Yufei's order, Tyrant led the newly trained second echelon to search for low level gnarls and kobolds in the surrounding area for extermination. As for why the more powerful first echelon was not used, but the ordinary second echelon, Yufei naturally had his own ideas. As one of the 4 major combat races in Warcraft, the Night Elves certainly do not need any training. That makes the recruits bleed, and Yufei would not do such a funny thing, you know. Ordinary Night Elves almost only have combat awareness, so naturally they do not need to be trained anymore. Yufei was thinking that the low-level gnarls and gnarl remnants around could no longer bring any experience to the elite Night Elves. But the newly trained ordinary Night Elves were different. Killing these low-level gnarls and gnarls could allow them to take the first step towards the elite level, so of course they couldn't be wasted. Woof woof, a gnarl died unwillingly under the arrows of the archers. And next to it, the bodies of several gnarl poachers and ordinary gnarls fell to the ground before it. Tyrant took a deep breath. and issued an order for everyone to return. After a day and a half of extermination, the low-level gnolls and gnoll remnants around had been almost wiped out. Even if there were still some left, they posed no threat to the temporary base of the Night Elves, which was empty of troops after the whole army was dispatched. 8 ancient protectors were enough to eliminate them. After a day and a half, or 36 hours of collection, with the 5 elves collecting 50 units of gold per minute, the total reserve of 200,000 units of gold in the gold mine has only 70,400 units left. Adding the moonlight energy absorbed in the night before and after the migration, Ufeli now has 20,098 units of energy. The wood collected in the past 2 days has also reached 19,150 units. However, these resources made Ufeli a little entangled. He didn't know what to do with these resources. Explode troops? The current troops are enough, and more than 20,000 energy will not greatly improve the military strength. Research technology. Moon armor, moon power and night vision have been studied, so we can't study wild power and enhanced concealment, right? These two technologies have nothing to do with archers and huntresses. They are all for dryads, mountain giants, hippogriffs, fairy dragons and chimeras to increase their attack and defense. Then these resources can only be left here? Although they won't get moldy like RMB, it's a waste to leave them here unused. Suddenly, Ufeli, who was struggling, saw the hundreds of thousand-year-old trees that he had moved with the planting technique. Why not build more ancient protectors? The power of the dirty tactics is very strong, and these ancient protectors are also mobile defense towers. But in this case, some elves need to be trained. Every ancient tree building of the Night Elves will consume an elf. But even so, it is worthwhile. It only takes 500 units of energy and 300 units of wood to transform an ancient tree into an ancient protector, while direct construction not only consumes an elf, but also consumes 1,350 units of energy and 800 units of wood. After a little calculation, including the 60 units of energy consumed by training the elves, a modified ancient protector requires 560 units of energy and 300 units of wood. With the resources he has now, he can build 38. Counting the original 8 ancient protectors, he will have 46 ancient protectors as guards. This is impossible when playing games. Even the most wretched players will not build so many defense towers. Ufeli immediately started training the elves. There are still 15 idle populations, but the elves will not occupy the population after they become ancient trees, so while training the elves and transforming the ancient protectors, he can still build 38 ancient protectors. But it will take a long time. It takes 30 minutes to train an elf, and then it takes 2 hours to transform an ancient tree into an ancient protector. Although Ufeli has been training the elves, it still takes a long time. After calculating, it will take more than 20 hours to build all the 38 ancient protectors in the plan. By then, the gold mine will be collected, and the resources that have nowhere to use can be used to build new ancient protectors. The king of wretched flow. 20 hours passed quickly, and all 38 ancient protectors have been built. Among these 38 ancient protectors, not an elite level ancient protector appeared as Ufeli expected, but the 6 newly appeared elite level ones also made Ufeli very satisfied. The gold mine has been almost mined at this time, and only more than 10,000 units of gold have not been mined. Ufeli has already started the second round of ancient protector transformation plan. Today is the second chapter. Hangchen will be on Sanjiang channel this afternoon after this chapter is released. Everyone, vote for Hangchen Sanjiang. Hangchen Jokian Zhang Book Friends Group 246,883,016 is full. Book friends who want to join the group, please add Hangchen Jokian Zhang second book friends group 200,601,869. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55 Stone Forest. But what Ufeli was more concerned about at this time was Tyran's third exploration. Learning from the last experience, Yufei ordered Tyran to reach the edge of the volcanic wasteland in the afternoon and wait until the sun sets before heading south. In this way, the threat of high temperature can be avoided. The sun slowly fell into the western horizon, and in the east, 3 bright moons were slowly rising. Tyran led the first and second echelons into the volcanic wasteland. Yufei asked Tyran to take away all the troops, including the kobold fortune teller. After all, the situation learned from the kobold fortune teller gave Yufei a clear understanding of the dangers of the volcanic wasteland. Although the temperature of the volcanic wasteland is very high, it is not hot enough to kill the team sent by the kobold fortune teller to explore. After all, there is still a level 5 jackal leader in it, and it can be withdrawn, no matter how hot it is. Moreover, last time, under the efficient killing of the forest wolves and the night elves, there were still many jackals and kobolds who escaped, which shows that the ability of these two races to escape is very strong. After all, it is not so easy to escape from the archer's 600 meter range. However, the jackals with such strong escape ability, led by a jackal leader, could not escape back to the wolf dog tribe. It can be seen that the unknown enemy is very dangerous. Therefore, Yufei asked Tyran to lead all the forest wolves and night elves to start the third exploration. Now he is surrounded by 46 ancient protectors, and new ancient protectors are constantly being built, so there is no need to leave soldiers for defense. Speaking of which, Yufei still hopes that some enemies will attack. With the current 46 defense towers and his own spells, it can be said that whoever comes will die. Wow, ha 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 ha, this is the real multi-tower. If an enemy attacks the base, Yufei can take the opportunity to increase the upper limit of the UN Lingwood key he can control. After a few days of practice, the upper limit of the UN Lingwood key he can control has reached 1080, which is 230 higher than before the migration. But Yufei still feels that this speed is too slow. When the tree demon attacked, Yufei only took 10 minutes to raise the upper limit of his spiritual wood energy by more than 200. Yufei continued to absorb moonlight energy and train the elves absent-mindedly, observing the situation around them through Tyran's vision. In addition, he occasionally gave the newly trained elves orders to transform the ancient trees into ancient protectors. Yufei lamented in his heart, being a tree of life is really busy. I miss the rice bug life on Earth before. Under Tyran's urging, all the forest wolves and night elves moved forward at a relatively fast speed, while the short-legged and slow-running kobold fortune teller was tied to a throwing car pulled by a horror wolf. There was no way. If we didn't march quickly, we might not be able to get out of the volcanic wasteland when the sun came out in the morning, which would be troublesome. In fact, Yufei had always been a little confused. Even if there was a volcano, it would not make the surrounding area so hot. There must be some mystery in it. Gritting his teeth, Yufei ordered Tyran to move toward the volcano. In this way, while exploring the secrets of the volcano, they could also get out of the wasteland earlier by walking in a straight line. After receiving Yufei's order, Tyran gave the order to move toward the volcano without any hesitation. All night elves unconditionally obey all the orders of the Tree of Life, even if what they are going to do will kill themselves. When Yufei ordered the female hunters to block the gun holes for the archers, no female hunter paused for a moment. After changing the route, the exploration team continued to move forward. Now it was just night, and if they walked in a straight line, they might be able to get out of the volcanic wasteland before the moon set. Yufei's heart moved, and he gave Tyran the order to summon an owl. Tyran summoned the owl with the reconnaissance skill, and Yufei shifted his vision to the owl. Before Tyran could think about what his father meant, the owl flew forward under Yufei's control. In fact, Yufei didn't have any deep meaning. He just felt that it was too boring to observe the march with Tyran's vision all the time. If you use the owl's vision, you can find some things in advance, so it won't be so boring. After all, it's too boring to mechanically train the elves and then order them to transform a certain ancient tree into an ancient protector. Under the moonlight, an owl with black and brown feathers flapped its wings in the air and flew towards the volcano in the center of the wasteland. From time to time, it made a strange sound of "ah" from its mouth, and a strange shadow was drawn on the ground. Of course, this is impossible. The owl summoned by the second level reconnaissance is already invisible. The owl's field of vision is relatively large, about 1.5 times that of Tyrant, so it can see more things. What's in front? There are many mud and stone pillars standing up abruptly on the wasteland. What landform is this called on Earth? Yadden landform? Cast landform? Who cares? Let's go in and take a look. Yufei curiously controlled the owl to enter the stone forest. The further he went into the stone forest, the more he felt something was wrong. Why? There are still traces of biological activities here. In such a harsh climate on the volcanic wasteland, can there be any living creatures that can survive? Looking at these traces, it is obviously a large population, but in such an environment on Earth, only some animals such as desert lizards can survive, and they cannot form a scale. Could it be that this is the culprit that caused the disappearance of the dog-headed team? Gradually, through the ears of the owl, Yufei heard a louder and louder sound. Is this snoring? The further he flew, the clearer the sound became, and Yufei was sure that it was indeed a snoring sound. Moreover, this snoring was very loud and the sound was rather strange, which reminded Yufei of the sound in the pig pen at night, when he lived in the countryside, when he was a child. Could it be that there was a group of pigs raised in this stone forest? Shaking his head, Yufei got rid of this absurd idea. If it was a pig-headed man, it would be fine. After all, this is a different world. Aren't the pigs in the Orcs big-headed men? Today is the third chapter. Hanchen goes to Sanjiang, calling for Sanjiang votes to support. I hope everyone can let Hanchen enter the Sanjiang Hanlin Academy. For Sanjiang, I will continue to update 3 times next week. Thanks to Tong and Fifi for their award of 7552 starting coins. Thanks to Duai plus Zinayu for 588 starting coins. Zuayu Zingan for 200 starting coins. Lost Hall for 100 starting coins. Nangang Jianlin for 100 starting coins. And Chusai for their award of 100 starting coins. Tong and Fifi are so awesome. 4 of them directly gave 1888. Congratulations to Tong and Fifi for becoming the 3rd deacon of this book. Chapter 56. Porcupine Man. Pointed Beast. However, from what I know, the area of the Wind Whispering Forest is still some distance away from the territory of the Orcs. How could there be pigs? Unable to figure it out, Yufei controlled the owl to continue flying forward. Finally, there were no longer stone pillars in front of him, and his eyes suddenly became clear. In the middle of the stone forest, on a large open space, a group of strange creatures were lying on the ground sleeping. At first glance, these creatures looked like pigs, but after a closer look, they were accompanied by chain hammers, wooden sticks and other weapons, and they seemed to have a certain degree of intelligence. And from the body shape, although these creatures are a bit like pigs, they are thin, and have some sharp thorns growing on their bodies. The huge snoring that Yufei heard was made by these creatures. They look a bit like pigs, and the snoring they make is also similar. But this doesn't seem to be the pigs. The pigs are still relatively fat, and there are no thorns growing on their bodies. Could it be a branch of the pigs, the porcupines? The porcupines are a relatively small tribe with good fighting power, so they live deep in the territory of the Orcs near the royal city. How come they appear here? No, this shouldn't be a porcupine either. Maybe, it's also a wild monster like the ogre and the dog-headed man. But, what kind of wild monster is this? Just as Yufei was thinking hard, he accidentally discovered several creatures that were obviously different from other porcupines in the center of this group of porcupines. There were several creatures that looked much smaller than the porcupines. Looking closely, they turned out to be several illusory looking pigs. Yufei confirmed that he was not wrong this time. There were indeed several pigs in front of him, but they were wild boars with longer noses and looked more ferocious. These 6, 7, 8, or 8 wild boars did not lie on the ground to sleep, but stood there, with 2 of them protecting a porcupine who seemed to have a higher status. Yufei noticed a phenomenon. Under the shining of 3 full moons in the sky, these 8 wild boars had no shadows. The owl that Yufei was controlling had no shadow because it was invisible. These 8 wild boars were obviously not invisible, otherwise he would not be able to see them. So why did they have no shadow? Were they ghosts? Yufei was a little scared, but he was not afraid. After all, he was now a supernatural being, so there was nothing to be afraid of when he met a ghost, especially a few pig ghosts. That's right. Yufei remembered something. Pig ghost? Isn't this the soul pig? The soul pig is a creature summoned by a wild monster called Dr. Spiky Beast. So, the porcupines guarded by these soul pigs are Dr. Spiky Beasts. That should be the case. In Warcraft, the spiky beasts are the same as porcupines, and Dr. Spiky Beasts, who can summon soul pigs and treat spiky beasts, have a relatively high status in the entire spiky beast tribe. Then, the tall spiky beast in the middle of the 4 spiky beast doctors must be the 7th level, that is, the sky level spiky beast leader. In the game of Warcraft, the spiky beasts originally lived in the dry and hot wasteland area, so it is no wonder that they appeared here and were able to survive. Strange, could it be that the group of spiky beasts killed the kobold squad? It shouldn't be. The strength of this group of spiky beasts is about the same as that of the ogre tribe. It is no problem for them to defeat the kobold squad and kill most of the jackals and kobolds. However, even with the advantage of time and place, with the kobold's ability to escape, there should be a few dogs that escaped. There is no unit in the spiky beast group that can attack remotely. The spiky beast doctor is at most a medium range attack unit, which can only be farther than the range of an ordinary female hunter. Maybe there is more than one spiky beast group in this volcanic wasteland, or in other words, there are more than one wild monster in this wasteland. You know, in the game of Warcraft, there are more than just spiky-haired beasts surviving in the dry wasteland. But this is nothing. If it were just the strength of this group of spiky-haired beasts, it would only be a gift to the Night Elves. You know, before they were advanced, the ogre tribe, which was almost as strong as this group of spiky-haired beasts, was killed by the forest wolves and the Night Elves, and the ogres had some tree demons to help them at that time. The strength of the forest wolves and night elves now is incomparable to that of the past. This group of spiky-haired beasts can't bring any threat to the exploration team. After commanding the owl to circle over the head of the spiky-haired beasts again, and confirming that there were no other hidden units, Yufei asked the owl to fly back to Tyrande. He himself directly contacted Tyrande with his mental power, and issued an order to go to the stone forest. The direction of the stone forest was only slightly offset from the direction the exploration team was moving in, so Tyrande didn't issue an order to change direction, and continued to move forward. After a while, Tyrande led the exploration team to a place not far from the stone forest. The enemy was not very strong this time, so Yufei was too lazy to command, and let Tyrande take full responsibility. Tyrande asked the owl, whose duration was about to expire, to enter the stone forest again and investigate the situation. The group of spiky beasts naturally did not wake up and were still sleeping on the ground. In this way, a sneak attack could be launched. Tyrande considered carefully. Although from the perspective of strength comparison, the forest wolves and night elves can crush each other, a sneak attack can still reduce losses. Most of the forest wolves and night elves under his command are now elite, and it is a pity to lose one. Although the second echelon is only ordinary, if the Father God just handed them over to him and suffered losses, it would be too sorry for the Father God's trust. However, if a sneak attack is to be launched, the 8 soul pigs are a problem. Soul pigs don't sleep, and the spiky beast doctor must have given the soul pigs an order to be on alert. As a summoned unit, and a soul body, the soul pig will not feel tired, and will meticulously execute the orders of the spiky beast doctor. Once it finds the enemy, it will howl immediately to wake up the entire spiky beast tribe. Although this can also solve the spiky beast tribe, it loses the original intention of the sneak attack. AS Hongchen said, this week will continue to update 3 times. This is the first chapter. Please vote for Sanjiang. The Eternal Tree is currently ranked first. Please help Hongchen keep this position. Thank you for the reward of 3876 starting coins. Thank you Ashazi for 1176 starting coins, Liu Ayushan brother and sister for 588 starting coins, and Nangang Jianlan for 100 starting coins. Congratulations too, for becoming the first helmsman of this book. The first helmsman. Chapter 57, Sneak Attack failed. Tyrande thought for a while, and could only try to see if she could snipe the 8 soul pigs first, otherwise they would awaken other spiky beasts. If they were not snipe killed in the first round, then they would have to fight head on. Tyrant gave an order and the exploration team began to slowly move towards the center of the stone forest. Speaking of which, this stone forest is cooler than the wasteland outside, so it is no wonder that the spiky beasts live here. However, they sleep at night when it is relatively cooler, so they are active during the hot daytime. It's really strange. Could it be affected by the setting that wild monsters in Warcraft fall asleep at night? This is in reality. It shouldn't be otherwise. There would be no tree demon attack in the middle of the night last time. Although it was a sneak attack, the Night Elves' light footsteps did not make people feel sneaky at all, but instead gave people a feeling of dancers under the moon, looking extremely beautiful. Well, if humans found these Night Elves that they had trained, they would not conduct a peaceful and friendly trade as they wished, but would think about how to capture these elves and train them as slaves. Alas. Even for the sake of these Night Elves who were like their own children, they had to hold back and wait until they were strong enough to contact humans. In fact, this was in another world, and they didn't know many people. The most they contacted humans was to exchange magic crystals or something. They would not go to the human world to go to school and pick up girls like the brainless protagonists in some time travel novels. It would be better to develop their own troops with this time. I was distracted again. Yufei focused his attention on the forest wolves and night elves who were advancing in the stone forest. Seeing that they were about to enter the central area of the stone forest, Tyrant made a gesture and the entire exploration team stopped advancing. At Tyrant's signal, 24 elite archers and Avril stepped out and moved towards the open space in the center of the stone forest with Tyrant. A soul pig dug the soil restlessly, as if it felt that something dangerous was approaching. However, with the hidden talent of the Night Elves, the Soul Pigs did not find the Night Elves who were advancing very carefully. They took advantage of the stone pillars to stop after taking a few steps, and the hidden talent of the Night Elves made them disappear in the moonlight after stopping. They moved forward carefully, and the 8 Soul Pigs were soon included in the shooting range of the Night Elves. Tyrant divided the Night Elves into 8 teams. Among them, 6 elite archers with powerful shooting skills were divided into 2 teams, each responsible for dealing with a soul pig. The 18 elite archers with the shadow arrow skill were useless at this time, and could only use ordinary attacks. So every 4 of them were divided into a team by Tyrant, a total of 4 teams, each responsible for a soul pig. The remaining 2 archers formed a team with Avril, responsible for a soul pig. As for the last soul pig, it was dealt with by Tyrant alone. Swish, swish, swish. Under the deliberate control of the Night Elves, the arrows shot out this time made very little sound. Although Tyrant's burning arrows and Avril's shock shots had some light, all the spiky beasts were asleep and did not see the arrows. Although the 8 soul pigs quickly discovered the arrows, they were too late to issue a warning. With the shooting skills of the Night Elves, each team accurately hit the target of their team. The 8 soul pigs did not even make a wail, and they turned into smoke directly under this wave of attacks. They are really like ghosts. Now it's good. After solving these 8 soul pigs for warning, these spiky beasts can be grayed out in their sleep. Yufei, who was paying attention to this place, was relieved. However, what happened next was something that neither Yufei nor Tyrant expected. After the 8 soul pigs were killed, the spiky beast doctor they were guarding suddenly turned over, climbed up, and issued a few high-pitched howls. In the howling, all the spiky beasts woke up. What's going on? We've dealt with the guards. No, the guard pigs. Why are they all awake? This is too unruly. This is cheating. But there was no time to think about why these spiky beast doctors woke up and awakened all the spiky beasts, because this group of spiky beasts, led by the spiky beast leader, rushed towards Tyrant and the others. Now Tyrant is leading the fragile Night Elf archers. Without any hesitation, Tyrant immediately issued an order to retreat. With these few archers, although they can cause great losses to the spiky beasts, they will definitely hurt the enemy 1000 and lose 800 of their own. It's not worth it. At the same time, the forest wolves and other night elves hiding in the stone forest also moved closer to Tyrant. Soon, the archer troops led by Tyrant joined the forest wolves and other night elves. With the forest wolves fighting monsters in front, the archers felt relieved. The spiky beast troops that rushed into the stone forest soon encountered the exploration troops that had already joined them. However, what appeared in front of them now were not fragile archers, but a group of wild wolves with sharp teeth and claws and thick skin. As soon as they met, all the wild wolves attacked the spiky beasts in front of them without hesitation. Under the command of the sacred giant wolf, all the wolves used wild combos or horror combos, causing huge damage to the opponent. As for itself, it used a sacred combo to hit the spiky beast leader who was at the head of the spiky beast troops. The 9 terrifying wolves let out a huge roar, providing a buff state of increased attack power for the surrounding friendly troops, and then entangled the rushing spiky beasts with a head of wild wolves. Fighting in the stone forest is actually beneficial to the forest wolves and the night elves. The night elves' arrows are not worried about accidental injuries, and the relatively small space means that the forest wolves will only face a few spiky beasts at the same time. The spiky beasts didn't have ranged troops, so they could only let the archers and huntresses attack. Yufei was not worried about this battle. In the end, the timber wolves and night elves would definitely win, so he didn't pay much attention to it, but wondered why the sneak attack failed. It was said that the strategy Tyrant adopted this time was good. Even if Yufei was in charge, Yufei would still use this method. But why did the sneak attack fail? Obviously all 8 soul pigs were dealt with. Today is the 2nd chapter. Book friends, it's 2 o'clock. It's time to get Sanjiang tickets again. Everyone hurry up and get the tickets and launch the 2nd round of Sanjiang ticket offensive this week. Thanks to Dui plus Zinu for 588 Kidian coins and Pasabi Kun for 100 Kidian coins. Everyone is awesome. Sanjiang Hanlin Academy. Chapter 58 An easy victory. It didn't take long for Yufei to figure it out. There seems to be a saying in the game that the sharp-haired beast doctor summoned the soul of the ancestor of the sharp-haired beast. As the summoner of the soul pig, the sharp-haired beast doctor was able to summon the soul of his ancestor by sacrificing his own soul fragments. Therefore, after killing the soul pig, the sharp-haired beast doctor will wake up because of the pain at the soul level. I have to split my soul in the future, otherwise it will be very painful to build a base without components. Obviously, Yufei's thoughts are wandering again. At this time, the battle situation in the stone forest has gradually become clear. There are only 4 sharp-haired beast doctors who are only medium-range attack units. The long-range firepower of the sharp-haired beast clan is obviously far behind that of the night elves. Under the rain of arrows from the archers, the sharp-haired beasts were pierced with arrow shafts that were much longer than their hair. Soon, the arrows were automatically recovered, and countless blood holes appeared on the sharp-haired beasts, bleeding out. After a while, the spiky beast fell down. After the female hunter advanced to the elite level, her attack became more sharp. A moon blade was thrown out, first slitting the throat of a spiky beast warrior, and then another one was shot, hitting another spiky beast, cutting a big wound. After possessing the passive skill of constant attack, each attack of the female hunter is double. 25 female hunters on the field attack at the same time, causing 50 enemies to be damaged. The ordinary female hunter's shot will weaken the attack power by 50%, and the effect is a little worse. The 4 spiky beast doctors hiding behind the spiky beasts howled loudly, and 8 more soul pigs appeared in front of the forest wolf team. Several wild wolves and a horror wolf were stimulated by something and pounced directly. Wild combo. Horror combo. 8 soul pigs were torn into pieces by chaotic claws as soon as they appeared. No, the soul pigs no longer had flesh. So, they were torn into pieces by chaotic claws. Mourn for the poor soul pigs. You know, when Yufei was a child, he read a lot of stories about wolves eating pigs, so he could understand the excitement of the forest wolves. It was a pity that these pigs had no meat. Although those spiky beasts were also pigs, they were really hard to eat with their thorns. The only trouble these spiky beasts brought to the forest wolves was their thorns. Their strength was far inferior to that of the current forest wolf clan. According to Yufei's idea, in fact, the forest wolf clan alone could solve this group of spiky beasts with a little loss. After all, the current forest wolf clan is at least at the level of wild wolf, with 1 active skill and 1 passive skill. Let's look at the leaders of both sides. The leader of the spiky beasts has been suppressed by the sacred giant wolf. After devouring the body of the tree demon high priest, the leader of the forest wolf clan increased from the original level 6, which was equivalent to the Yunxiao level, to the current level 8. Although it is only at the beginning of legendary stage according to the power level of the other world, it is enough to suppress the leader of the spiky beast. The leader of the spiky beast also has an aura, which looks similar to the effect of the thorn aura, because every time the forest wolves attack the spiky beasts, they will suffer some damage, and the thorns on their bodies alone cannot achieve this effect. In order to reduce the damage to the forest wolves, Tyrande also took action. After all, there is still a long way to go, and there may be many enemies, and the forest wolves cannot be injured. Scorching arrow. A ball of fire exploded on the body of the leader of the spiky beast who was fighting with the sacred giant wolf. At Tyrande's signal, Luna used a moonlight to knock the leader of the spiky beast dizzy. Of course, the sacred giant wolf would not miss this opportunity. A sacred combo tore a fatal wound in the abdomen of the leader of the spiky beast. The leader of the spiky beast just came back to his senses from the dizziness, and an arrow with a deep yellow light shot into the wound, torn by the sacred giant wolf. For the leader of the spiky-haired beasts, who had already suffered fatal injuries, this arrow was the last spiky hair that overwhelmed the porcupine. Avril's shock shot directly sent it to see its ancestors. When the leader of the spiky-haired beasts was killed, all the spiky-haired beasts paused, but under the snort of the spiky-haired beast doctor, they continued to resist the attacks of the forest wolves and night elves. However, after losing the leader of the spiky-haired beasts, the forest wolves would no longer suffer rebound damage when attacking the spiky-haired beasts, and the attack that had been shrinking their claws and mouths was immediately released. The released forest wolves suddenly became much more fierce, catching the hips of the spiky-haired beasts and starting to bite, perhaps because they knew there was more meat there. But at this time, Euphony turned his attention to the spiky-haired beast doctor. The 4 spiky-haired beast doctors were also stunned when the soul pigs they summoned were solved by a few claws, but soon they gave up the summoning tactics and concentrated on being grandma pigs. Their treatment has a great effect on the spiky beasts. A spiky beast that has been fatally injured will become full of life in 10 seconds, as long as it is healed by the spiky beast doctor. Well, the healing skills of these spiky beast doctors are almost the same as the rejuvenation of the claw druid. If the spiky beast leader had not died suddenly, I'm afraid that he would have been saved by them. Facing the enemy's auxiliary units, of course, the old method is still adopted, concentrating elite firepower and sniping directly. There is nothing to say. Under the sniping of Tyrande, Avril and 6 elite archers with powerful shooting skills, the 4 spiky beast doctors died without suspense. Originally, after the death of the spiky beast leader, the spiky beast warriors felt a little panicked, but the spiky beast doctor still had some prestige, so they mustered up the courage to continue to resist. Now seeing that the spiky beast doctor was also killed by the enemy, the remaining more than 30 spiky beast warriors directly scattered and fled. In the stone forest, there are countless stone pillars. These spiky beast warriors are zigzagging around, which brings great trouble to the forest wolves and night elves. Although Tyrande came up with a way to combine forest wolves and archers to pursue in groups, there are still a few spiky beast warriors who escaped the pursuit of the exploration team. At THE 3rd update, I'm rolling on the ground to ask for Sanjiang votes. The gap between the second place and us is getting closer and closer. Thanks to the reward of 200 starting coins from the disappearing leaf, 100 starting coins from Shwelin, and 100 starting coins from everyone. Give more support and vote for Sanjiang. The process of collecting and voting for Sanjiang tickets is in the book review area, and it is also in my Sanjiang comments. Recommend a few books. Children who are short of books can go and read them. There are quite a few words. Chapter 59, Thornfang and Elite Avril. But let's just run away. Euphony doesn't care about that little experience. Euphony is now concerned about 2 things. The corpse opening of the spiky beast leader, and the attributes of Avril, after he advances to the elite level. When playing Warcraft, Euphony discovered a strange situation, which is about the problem of aura equipment. In Warcraft, there are 7 pieces of equipment with aura skills, namely, Ilya's Flute, Strong Strike Aura, Scourge Bone Bell, Blood-Sucking Aura, Horn of Destruction, Evil Aura, Storm Lion Horn, Focus Aura, Ancient Patience Jiang Song, Durability Aura, KGF Flute, Brilliant Aura, War Song Drum, Command Aura, Seeing this, everyone may have discovered that there is no equipment with Thorn Aura among these 7 Aura equipment. On Earth, Euphony had been entangled with this problem for a long time, but there was no way. Blizzard designed it this way, and he couldn't change anything. However, this spiky beast leader seems to have the skill of Thorn Aura. This is in another world. Will it be different from the game? If the sharp-haired beast commander dropped equipment with a Thorn Aura, he wouldn't have to worry about whether to choose Jungle Guardian or Demon Hunter for his second hero. After all, Euphony only liked the Thorn Aura for Jungle Guardian. Although Serene Rain is a good item, it can only be used after reaching level 6. Besides, he can now use a super simplified version of Serene Rain, Nourishment, which has no cooldown. This time, Euphony asked Tyrant to open the corpse of the sharp-haired beast commander. Because Tyrant opened the hidden artifact Ghost Scepter from the High Priest of the Tree Demon last time, Euphony thought she was lucky. Tyrant didn't know that her father had so many ideas, so she searched for what equipment the sharp-haired beast commander had dropped without hesitation. Soon, Tyrant found a necklace. This necklace seemed to be made of animal teeth. Could it be the teeth of the sharp-haired beast? Euphony felt a little nauseous, but he wasn't going to use this thing himself, so he looked at its properties. Thorn Fang, attached skill Thorn Aura. Passive, it can surround allied troops within a certain range with a shield full of thorns, causing damage to melee units that attack them. Feedback 10% of the damage caused by the enemy, with a range of 200 meters. Passive skill, no casting interval, no mana consumption, and unlimited duration. Damn, it's you. I really got the equipment with the Thorn Aura skill. Euphony glanced at the corpse of the Shafa commander through Tyrant's vision. Rest in peace, your death is worth it. If there were no conditions now, I would definitely erect a monument for you. The monument reads, in memory of the great Shafa commander who contributed Thornfang to the Night Elves with his life. With this Thornfang, there is no need to consider the Jungle Guardian. Although the aura equipment only comes with the first level aura, it is enough for one use. But, is it better to go for the Watcher or the Demon Hunter? The Watcher is a jack of all trades. It can run, kill alone, attack in groups, and summon. However, the Demon Hunter has always been strong. In order to consider the overall situation, the first round did not choose her, but the Moon Priestess. If the second round is let go, Euphony began to struggle again. The Thornfang cannot be equipped now. Tyrant's 6 equipment slots are full, and you must replace one to equip it. One advantage of the real version of Warcraft is that you can hold the equipment in your hand, even if you don't put it in the equipment column, but the buff effect brought by the equipment will not work. Under Euphony's order, Tyrant put the Thornfang on her neck. In fact, Euphony wanted Tyrant to replace the elf leather boots, but how to hold it after replacing it? Tyrant is not without shoes. You can't hold it in your hand. It's better to have the Thornfang, which is a necklace that can be worn directly. This time, opening the corpse really made Euphony satisfied. Tyrant is indeed lucky. Next, he is concerned about Avril. Avril was already on the verge of upgrading. Just now in the battle, her shock shot took away the last bit of life of the sharp-haired beast leader. The experience of a level 7 wild monster finally allowed her to break through the elite level and reach the elite level. It was not easy for Avril and Luna to advance. They went through so many battles to advance. You know, the 3 archers who advanced to the elite level first have taken a big step towards the elite level. They already have about 40% of the experience of the elite level. After a few more battles, they may advance again. Avril's attributes have changed greatly after advancing to the elite level. Archer, name, Avril. Only the first unit trained by each type of soldier will automatically have a name. Level, elite attack type, piercing attack range. 1200 attack speed, fast attack power, movement speed, fast armor type, medium armor, health, mana, ability, ride hippogriff, requirement, taming hippogriff, not satisfied. Features, Eru's Grace, reduces damage from piercing attacks to 65% of the original, reduces magic damage to 80% of the original hide. Stops the unit from attacking the enemy, can make it shadow melt, and become invisible at night. Skills, concussive shot, consumes less magic value, causes medium damage to the target unit, slows down to 30%, and lasts for 15 seconds. Interval time is 30 seconds. Heavy rain shot. Consumes medium magic value. Shoots 12 rapid arrows. And the attack power of each arrow is 75% of the basic attack 30 seconds interval. Aimed shot. Consumes less mana. And performs a powerful aimed shot. Dealing damage. Damage increases by for every 150 meters of distance 30 seconds interval. The attribute improvement is huge. Attack power is increased by 2 stars, and attack speed and movement speed are changed from faster to fast. Armor is increased by 1 star, and health and mana are increased by 1.5 stars. The 2 characteristics are the talents of the archer, but there is no change. 2 more skills. TSK. With these skills, Avril can be called a hero. By the way, it should be, because Avril and Luna are more difficult to level up, so the attribute increase, and skills are stronger than other units. Although there are no other elite archers for comparison, Yufei is sure that, even if other elite archers advance, the skills they obtain will definitely not be as strong as Avril. TODAY' first chapter. Now the Eternal Tree on Sanjiang is still ranked first, but the gap between the second place and us is still getting closer. Everyone, give your support. Sanjiang votes. Sanjiang votes. Red Dust mumbling. Thanks to Acetyl Storm for a review vote. Chapter 60. Thoughts on space. Storm Shot seems to be an enhanced version of Shadow Arrow, but it seems to be too strong. Shadow Arrow only shoots 3 arrows with 75% of the normal attack power, while Storm Shot directly shoots 12 arrows, 4 times. Moreover, the basic attack power of elite level Avril is already 5 stars. One of her storm shots is definitely more powerful than the power of 4 shadow arrows of other elite level archers. Now Avril can be said to have the highest group attack among the existing Night Elves. After all, Tyrant's Scorching Arrow at level 3 only has a small range of damage, and can only attack 3 or 4 enemies in a group at a time. The basic damage of aimed shot is not as high as Avril's own normal attack, but the feature behind it makes this skill terrifying. For every 150 meters increase in distance, the damage increases by 1 star. In other words, according to Avril's attack range, if the enemy is 1200 meters away from Avril, Avril will cause 12 stars of damage instead of just 4 stars. Although this is only a best case scenario, it can also be seen that this skill is powerful. Besides, the mana consumption of aiming and shooting is less. Elite level Avril is much stronger, so what will happen to Luna when she advances to elite level? What skills will she get? Yufei is a little impatient. He cleaned up the battlefield. In fact, there was nothing to clean up. According to Yufei's experience, in this alien world, only the leader monsters will drop equipment. Others, even the sharp-haired beast doctor, did not drop anything. What disappointed Yufei was that no magic crystals were found in the place where the sharp-haired beasts gathered in the stone forest. But thinking about it, it is clear that before the wild monsters came, this place should have such a landform and climate, and of course no one would survive here. And beyond is the Warcraft mountains, where the environment is much better than this, and the Warcraft will not live here stupidly, so the sharp-haired beasts can't get magic crystals. Besides, magic crystals are of no use to wild monsters. After a fruitless search, Tyran led the exploration team out of the stone forest, and continued to move forward in the established direction. After this battle, Yufei's boredom was over, and he found something to do. Yufei's life space is already more than half full. Originally, his life space could accommodate 16 moon wells, but now there are only 5, less than 1/3. He shouldn't have to consider this problem. But in addition to the moon wells, there are 2 buildings in his life space, the Hunter's Hall and the Elder's Altar. The area occupied by these 2 buildings is much larger than the moon well. The Elder's Altar is okay, it only occupies the area of almost 2 moon wells, but the Hunter's Hall occupies the area of 4 moon wells. In this case, there is only room for 5 moon wells in the life space. In fact, the space of 5 moon wells is enough for the time being. Yufei has no resources now, and can't explode soldiers. But according to Yufei's personality, how can I say it? To put it nicely, he considers the long term. To put it bluntly, he likes to worry about the future. When he was a child, he read a popular science book, and learned that the Earth has a lifespan, and will die in 5 billion years. Then he began to think, what should I do by then? How to escape from the earth? And how to take my parents with me? He never considered whether he could live that long. After that, Eupheny began to read popular science books crazily, many of which were about rockets, space shuttles, space stations, etc. It was not until he grew up that he suddenly realized that humans might not exist in 5 billion years. Moreover, if humans really existed until then, they would have long since disappeared from the earth. He was relieved. The above 2 paragraphs are true because this is what Han Chin himself worried about when he was a child. Because of Eupheny's personality, although there are still 5 moon wells available now, he has begun to consider how to expand the area of the life space. He had thought about it before. It's a bit far to increase the area of the life space by upgrading to the ancient tree. It will be soon after Tyrant's exploration is completed, but this is a rigid requirement after all. After having enough resources, he will definitely have to rush to build troops crazily. By then, Eupheny also wants to move all the moon wells to the life space for protection. Obviously, it is definitely not enough to rely on upgrading to expand the life space. But Eupheny has already thought of a way. When Tyrant used the scroll to return to the city to teleport last time, he had already realized it. With the little things that he analyzed from the battle formation diagram in the scroll back to the city, it was enough to strengthen and expand the area of the life space. After all, Eupheny had analyzed all the outer parts of the battle formation diagram in his mind. Let Tyrant lead the exploration team to continue to move forward. After calling him for something, Eupheny concentrated his mind and began to expand his space. He gathered his mental power and entered the life space in his body. The life space is a place in the sky. It is a rectangular block in general. The sky and the surroundings are all chaos. Only below is the soil that is unknown how thick. In the sky and the surroundings of the life space, countless brown and yellow gaseous substances are churning, but they will not cross the edge of the life space. Is it a dog-blooded thing? Is this the chaotic energy? This thing is the famous cow, yeah. In countless novels, the chaotic energy is an extremely high-end energy. The protagonist becomes extremely awesome because he can control or absorb this thing. However, Eupheny is not stupid enough to absorb the chaotic energy. According to the information in Yuan Mu Zhenju, the so-called chaotic energy is the original spiritual energy without distinction between clear and turbid, which contains all kinds of spiritual energy, of course, including all kinds of turbid air, poisonous gas and so on. Whoever absorbs it rashly will die. Moreover, the chaotic energy is not difficult to find, as long as you can open a space crack. However, this space crack is not as stable and difficult as the space tunnel. Space cracks are extremely unstable. In places where the space is relatively unstable, it does not take too much force to open a space crack, but space tunnels are different. The so-called ascended ancestor of the Yu family should actually have opened a space tunnel that led to an unknown place and left in a flash. At TODAY' second chapter. 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. Comrades, what are you waiting for? You can vote for Sanjiang again. Go to Sanjiang quickly and leave the second place behind. Chapter 61 Expanding Life Space. Therefore, the chaotic energy is not a precious thing, nor is it so easy to control. Moreover, from the perspective of Yuan Mu Zhenju, the chaotic energy is not very powerful, because it is purely a kind of energy mixed with various spiritual energy, turbid air, and poisonous gas. It is fine if it is bound by space energy. If you control it to hit the enemy without the restraint of space energy, the various spiritual energy and turbid air mixed into the chaotic energy will cancel themselves out. So what power will it have? From the perspective of Yuan Mu Zhenju, the Yuan Lingwood Key is already one of the highest energies in the world, which can transform all things, and is much more useful than this chaotic energy. After his mind habitually wandered for a while, Eupheny woke up. I should be thinking about how to expand the life space. How did the chaotic energy go up? I got off track. Well, the array diagram reflected in my mind by the return to the city scroll. I have already analyzed all the periphery. But how can I apply these things to the life space? Set up a formation as well. The question is what to use to set up the formation. Eupheny quickly set his sights on the chaotic energy that he had just disdained. Maybe he could use this to set up the formation? It was also in strands and could be torn into threads. He tried to use his mental power to control the chaotic energy, but was embarrassed to find that the chaotic energy churning outside the life space didn't care about him at all. Yufei was a little embarrassed. He just looked down on the chaotic energy and wanted to check the Yuan Musenju, but he didn't find any method of controlling the chaotic energy recorded on it. This is embarrassing. There is no way. Try again. Just do it blindly, relying on his extremely powerful mental power. Maybe he can control some chaotic energy. Yufei's mental power was fully activated, aiming at a very thin strand of chaotic energy, and began to exert force. Finally, after an unknown amount of time, under the control of Yufei's huge mental power, a small part of this strand of chaotic energy was pulled into the life space. Wow, it's easy to deal with it. After entering the life space, Yufei did not use his mental power to pull this strand of chaotic energy. He just moved his mind, and this strand of chaotic energy that had entered the life space was moved to the center of the life space. In the life space, Yufei can be said to be an incomplete supreme god. With a thought, he can control everything in the life space. Of course, it is limited to control. Things that did not exist originally cannot be transformed, otherwise he would not be called an incomplete supreme god. It would be fine if the chaotic energy was churning outside the life space. As long as a little bit of it entered the life space, Yufei could directly pull the entire chaotic energy over. Since this method is feasible, let's continue. Next, Yufei used this method to pull in a lot of chaotic energy. Strands of chaotic energy rolled in the center of the life space, but they were gathered by Yufei and could not spread, forming an air mass. These chaotic energies should be enough. But what should I do next? Yufei suddenly glanced at the moon water and the moon well. You can try this. Under Yufei's control, the moon water in several moon wells formed several water columns like several elephants sucking water and poured into the chaotic air mass in the center of the life space. With the infusion of moon water, the chaotic air mass became more and more viscous and soon turned into a substance like clay. Now it can be shaped. Yufei used his mental power to pull this ball of clay into strands. Under his absolute control, the thickness of these chaotic moon clay strands was exactly the same. Then, Yufei began to use these chaotic moon clay strands. This name is too ridiculous, so it will be referred to as mixed strands, to set up the formation according to the formation diagram he analyzed. In the life space, Yufei is the absolute controller. He first began to set up the formation at the edge of the life space according to his memory. Here, he began to arrange the mixed strands. Fainted, according to the standard of the formation diagram, but use the innermost formation diagram. After consuming about 1/3 of the mixed strands, this round of formation was completed, and the effect was obvious. After copying the innermost array diagram with mixed silk, the surging chaotic energy on the periphery of the life space has quietly retreated a long distance, and the area of the life space has been expanded. However, it is not over yet. This is only the innermost part of the outermost array diagram that I analyzed. The outermost array patterns that can stabilize the space have not been arranged yet. I think they will play a big role after the arrangement is completed. After observing the effect, Yufei's confidence increased, and he immediately started the second round of arrangement. Because the perimeter of the array pattern is longer as you go to the periphery, the outermost array pattern is not as complicated as the innermost one. After Yufei arranged all the array patterns he analyzed, the remaining mixed silk was almost used up. At this time, the edge of the life space was wrapped by the array patterns condensed by these brown and yellow mixed silks. Originally, when Yufei analyzed the array diagram, he saw a flat array diagram, but when he finished arranging it himself, he found that these array patterns were directly imprinted on the space, and there was no such thing as flat or three-dimensional. The only reason you can see it now is because of the color of the mixed silk itself. If you want to touch it, you can't touch it at all. After a period of time, when the mixed silk is washed by the power of space for a long time, even this little color will disappear. At that time, this semi-finished array diagram will really be invisible, colorless, and intangible. After the outermost array diagram is arranged, it is obvious that the area of the entire life space has expanded a lot. The calculation of area and length is different. From the perspective of side length, the side length of the life space is twice the original, that is, each side is extended half to both sides. But from the perspective of area, the area of the life space has become 4 times the previous one, which can accommodate 64 moon wells. Well, this should be enough. And there should be another expansion, after upgrading to the ancient tree. Now that the basic area is large, there will be more expansions at that time. After arranging this incomplete array diagram, Eupheny felt that his control over the life space has increased a lot, and he has reached the state of moving at will. Moreover, it seems that there is more than that. Eupheny's mind moved, and a chaotic air close to the edge of the life space appeared directly in the central part of the life space. I seem to be able to slightly affect the outside of the life space, although I don't know what the use is. I am 20 minutes late. Sorry. Today is the 3rd chapter. Everyone is off work, so give 2 Sanjiang tickets. Also, the collection recommendations are not strong enough. Others can get 4,000 collections in one issue of Sanjiang, but Hongchen seems to have no hope. Woohoo, please add more collections. It's over 140,000 words and no one has rewarded me all day. I'm so sad. Sanjiang is number 1. Sanjiang is number 1. Keep it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Mass Bloodthirstiness. After solving the problem of the life space, Eupheny was ready to take a break. Pulling his consciousness out of the life space, he first looked at the ancient protectors around him. After the construction in the middle of the night, the number of ancient protectors increased to more than 50. When the gold mine of the Wolfhound tribe is consumed, how many ancient protectors will there be? So many defense towers only appeared when the whole map was filled with defense towers when playing Warcraft. Continuing to train the elves, letting them transform the ancient trees into ancient protectors, Eupheny turned his attention to Tyrande again. Although it felt like a long time had passed in the life space, it was only more than an hour after coming out. However, Tyrande had led the exploration team to walk a distance. From Tyrande's perspective, they were not far from the volcano. At this speed, they would reach the volcano in half an hour, and the night was not even half over. So, if the distance of the wasteland on the other side of the volcano is about the same as this side, we can get out of the wasteland before dawn. However, we still need to find out what secrets this volcano has. Generally, volcanoes will never bring such a big change to the surrounding areas, even in the other world. Perhaps, there is some treasure, such as the soul-splitting sword, the wrath of the stars, the more the better. Just when Eupheny was thinking about the full set of Dota artifacts on Tyrande, Tyrande suddenly ordered the exploration team to stop moving forward. What's going on? Eupheny also calmed down his mind and concentrated on sensing what happened. Although it was night, the wind blowing over the volcanic wasteland was still hot. Because the closer to the volcano, the hotter it is. According to the principle of the activity of cold and warm air masses, this hot wind is blowing from the direction of Tyrande and the others to the volcano. In theory, Tyrande and the others can't hear the sound coming from the direction of the volcano, because there is no wind to bring them sound. But the Night Elves have extraordinary vision and hearing, especially Tyrande as a hero. Although there was no wind to bring her any sound, Tyrande still heard the faint sound coming from the front with her strong hearing. Among these sounds, there were the sounds of weapons colliding, and there were also occasional screams. There was clearly a battle ahead, and judging from the sound, the scale of the battle was quite large. Now Eupheny rarely interfered with Tyrande's behavior, and Eupheny was more relieved about the so-called advanced wisdom. Anyway, Tyrande could command by herself, so the lazy mentality of the otaku naturally prevailed. Tyrande released the owl, and commanded the owl to fly forward to scout. Eupheny did not hesitate to switch his vision to the owl. Anyway, there was no danger, so he went to watch the fun. The flying speed of the owl was enhanced after the upgrade, and it was still relatively fast. It flew over the battlefield in about half a minute. So bloody, so violent. Have you ever seen the blood and flesh flying in the melee between pigs and horses? That's right. At first glance, the battlefield below is indeed a group of porcupines fighting with a group of wild horses. Of course, this porcupine is a sharp-haired beast we just saw. There are quite a few spiky beasts on the field, adding up to more than 200. There are quite a few spiky beast doctors, about 20 to 30 of them, and there are 6 spiky beast commanders. What is that extremely strong spiky beast doing? There is also a very simple looking crown on its head. Is that a crown? This is probably the simplest crown Eupheny has ever seen. It is clearly a large piece of metal that has been bent into a helmet. However, this spiky beast is very powerful, and is obviously the leader of all spiky beasts. This should be the emperor of spiky beasts. A level 9 wild monster is equivalent to an epic level. Eupheny recognized the group of horses that the spiky beasts were fighting against at a glance. This group of creatures that look like horses but have strong upper bodies like humans are another force that survives on the dry wasteland in Warcraft, the centaurs. It is said that the centaurs have a bad reputation in Warcraft. Even the soldiers are called centaurs bandits, centaurs death prophets, etc. However, the strength of the centaurs is still good, and the situation on the field is still evenly matched for the time being. The sharp-haired beasts have a powerful leader, the sharp-haired beast emperor, and the centaurs are not bad either. At the back of the battlefield, a centaur who does not look strong is protected by 2 centaur leaders of the same level as the sharp-haired beasts. This somewhat skinny centaur holds a huge bone staff in his hand, and at first glance, he is a powerful magic unit or auxiliary unit, and its next action also confirmed Eupheny's guess. The skinny centaur raised the bone staff in front of his eyes, muttered something, and a ball of red light appeared on the top of the bone staff. The skinny centaur waved the bone staff towards the centaur team in front of him who was fighting with the sharp-haired beasts, and the ball of red light on the top of the bone staff immediately broke away from the bone staff and flew towards the centaur team. This ball of red light was not very big when it flew away from the bone staff, but as it flew forward slowly, its size became larger and larger. When it flew to 1/3 of the distance, the volume of the red light had already tripled from the beginning. At this time, the red light suddenly split into 3 groups, each of which was about the same size as at the beginning. After the split, the red light continued to fly forward slowly, and each group became larger and larger like the one at the beginning. After flying to 2/3 of the distance between the thin centaur and the centaur team, each group of red light grew to 3 times its original size, and then split into 9 groups again, and continued to fly forward. When it was about to reach the centaur team, the red light split again, becoming 27 groups, each of which hit a centaur. The 27 centaurs hit by the red light suddenly swelled up like blowing air, and red light flashed on their arms. This is bloodthirstiness. However, the number of affected units is too many, right? Eupheny was stunned. With extremely low cooldown time and extremely high magic power, the Kobold Diviner can quickly release more than 30 Bloodlust or Fire of the Soul. This skinny centaur has given 27 centaurs a Bloodlust state at once. Not a human, not a centaur. This skill doesn't seem to consume a lot of magic points. It's abnormal. I thought the Kobold Diviner was the king of auxiliary, but now the skill of this skinny centaur has surpassed the Kobold Diviner. This should be called Group Bloodlust. Okay. First update today. Please vote for Sanjiang. Thanks to Frindxk3652 for the reward of Kidian coins. Thanks to Ordinary Zangson for 100 Kidian coins. And Vanishing Leaf for the reward of 100 Kidian coins. Chapter 63. Strong and Insidious. This group bloodthirstiness is simply a magical skill. The 27 centaurs who were blessed with the bloodthirstiness state had their attack speeds increased sharply, and the frequency of swinging their weapons suddenly reached an extremely high level. The spiky-haired beasts who were fighting against these centaurs were unable to adapt to the sudden increase in the speed of the enemy, and most of them were directly KO'd by the convulsive attacks of the centaurs who were in the bloodthirst state. Only a few spiky-haired beasts survived. In this round of attack, the spiky-haired beasts lost nearly 20 spiky-haired beast warriors, and the spiky-haired beast emperor was obviously a little unhappy. It quickly moved to the front of the team of centaurs blessed with the bloodthirstiness, raised its hoof, and stomped hard on the ground. Boom. There was a ground shaking sound, and most of the centaurs around the spiky-haired beast emperor fell to the ground. The few centaurs who did not fall down were like drunk, swaying left and right in a daze. The spiky-haired beast emperor was obviously not ready to let these centaurs go, and the huge chain hammer in his hand smashed the ground with a great force. There was another huge roar, and the poor ground was destroyed for the second time. After the chain hammer hit the ground, it created a deep pit, and countless cracks spread from the deep pit to the surrounding area with huge energy. The centaurs, who were still in a dizzy state, were directly hit by this huge force. They were already suffering huge damage, and almost all of them died in a dizzy state. Only a few centaurs on the edge of the group attack survived these two powerful skills. According to the effects of the skills, Yufei has recognized these two extremely domineering skills. The skill of the sharp-haired beast emperor that raised his hoof and stepped on the floor not only caused huge damage, but also put the centaurs into a dizzy state. It should be the group control skill war trampling. The skill of hitting the floor with a weapon later did not have any additional effects other than the damage, but from the slow escape speed of the centaurs who escaped by chance, it can be seen that this skill has a strong deceleration effect. If I'm not mistaken, this skill should be the Thunder Strike of the Hill King. The two group attack skills of the sharp-haired beast emperor both have a strong control effect. The combination of the two skills is simply an excellent combination for home travel, murder, and arson. No wonder more than 20 centaurs with bloodthirsty status were directly wiped out by the sharp-haired beast emperor and a pig. Yufei thought of more than that. He was thinking, if the sharp-haired beast emperor rushed into the camp of the Night Elves and used a combo of war trampling and thunder strike, there would be few female hunters left, right? Not to mention the archers who were so fragile that they might not be able to resist. Several centaurs who had survived the two skills of the sharp-haired beast emperor hurriedly retreated, but the sharp-haired beast emperor was obviously not ready to let them go. After using his skills, he chased them directly. Although those centaurs were outside the range of the sharp-haired beast emperor's skills, they were quite far away from him. However, how could they escape the pursuit of the sharp-haired beast emperor after their speed was slowed down by the thunderbolt? They were soon caught up by the sharp-haired beast emperor one by one, and were killed directly with one man, one horse, and one hammer. There was no other way. After enduring the war trampling and the thunderbolt, these centaurs were already at low health. The desperate counter-attack launched by the centaurs, who saw that they could not escape, did not even break the skin of the sharp-haired beast emperor. Yufei was naturally stunned again. This sharp-haired beast emperor is too strong, right? The skills are extremely powerful, the ordinary attacks are not weak, and the defense is so strong. As for the speed, even if it is relatively slow, the two control skills are not in vain, not to mention that from the series of actions just now, the speed of the sharp-haired beast emperor is not slow. This is simply an unsolvable monster. Tyrant might not be able to stand up to it. In this way, the 27 centaurs blessed by the thin centaur with bloodthirstiness launched a wave of attacks, and after killing about 100 spiky beast warriors, they were wiped out by the spiky beast emperor. It's really retribution. It comes quickly. How will the thin centaur react? This spiky beast is so powerful that it can kill nearly 30 centaurs in one round of attack. The threat to the centaurs is quite large. Yufei observed the thin centaur from a god's perspective. It's too inconvenient to call it a thin centaur all the time, so just call it the centaur wizard. Yufei observed the centaur wizard and found that it was looking at the powerful spiky beast emperor, but a mocking expression appeared on its face. Looking at the spiky beast emperor who was almost slaughtering his men, the centaur wizard didn't seem nervous at all. Is the ridicule looking down on the emperor of the spiky beast? The emperor of the spiky beast is so strong. What is there to look down on? Yufei unconsciously put his eyes on the emperor of the spiky beast again, but found that, although the emperor of the spiky beast was still extremely fierce, and led his spiky beasts to attack the centaurs, he only used the chain hammer in his hand to hit the centaurs, and did not cast the two skills of war trampling and thunder strike. Yufei was not a stupid person, and he figured it out in a flash. This emperor of the spiky beast was extremely strong in melee combat, and had high defense. If it were a hero, it would be a hero with a lot of blood and thick skin. The mana must be extremely scarce, so after a wave of skills, there was no mana. Yes, it must be like this. The centaur wizard used a group bloodthirst and the lives of more than 20 centaurs to consume almost all the mana of the emperor of the spiky beast. Although it seems a bit worthless, in this case, the emperor of the spiky beast will not pose any threat to the centaur wizard. The great centaur wizard is a magic unit with low HP and low defense. If he is hit by the war trampling of the emperor of the spiky beast and the thunder strike, he will definitely not be spared. Now that the magic value of the emperor of the spiky beast has been consumed by the great centaur wizard, the great centaur wizard naturally does not have to worry about being killed by the emperor of the spiky beast, but can let go. Even if the emperor of the spiky beast, who cannot cast skills, rushes to the side of the great centaur wizard, the two centaur leaders are not vegetarians. With the blessing of the great centaur wizard state, there is no problem in resisting the emperor of the spiky beast. In addition, with the great centaur wizard assisting in the attack, maybe he can even kill the emperor of the spiky beast. Who knows if the great centaur wizard has any powerful attack skills. This great centaur wizard is really insidious. Underscore 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 underscore. At the second chapter is delivered today. It's 2 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock. What should I do at 2 o'clock? Of course, I will vote for Sanjiang. Dear friends, go to Sanjiang and vote for the Hanlin Academy. Hanlin Academy. Also, please add more collections and member clicks. Chapter 64, Reign of Fire. The Emperor of the Spiky Beasts and the Great Centaur Wizard are both powerful and treacherous. Neither of them is easy to deal with. However, the Great Centaur Wizard should have more abilities than this. Just a group bloodthirst spell is not enough to establish his status as the leader of the centaurs. After all, cunning and treacherous is one thing, and groups like wild monsters are relatively more valued for strength. As expected, the great centaur wizard quickly took action. The high-end combat power of the centaurs on the field is only 5 centaur leaders, 2 of whom are still protecting the great wizard. In addition to the powerful emperor of the spiky beasts, the spiky beasts also have 6 spiky beast commanders, which is obviously not something that 3 centaur leaders can resist. Although in terms of mid-range combat power, the cooperation of the centaur forerunners and centaur longbowmen is stronger than that of the spiky beast barbarians and spiky beast doctors. The difference in high-end combat power makes the centaurs clearly at a disadvantage. Led by the emperor of the sharp-haired beasts, the 6 sharp-haired beast leaders gathered together and charged left and right in the centaur camp. No centaur or any centaur could stop the attack of this elite team. In this case, the centaur had to resist the attacks of ordinary sharp-haired beasts on one hand, and hide from the attacks of the sharp-haired beasts elite team on the other hand, and it seemed that they could not hold on. At this time, the centaur wizard had completed his actions. He held up the bone staff in his hand, and a red cloud suddenly rolled up over the sharp-haired beast camp. Because it was late at night, the sharp-haired beasts did not notice that there was an unknown object on their heads, and continued to fight fiercely with the centaurs. The centaur wizard cast the spell in a very good position, just a little further back from the battle line between the sharp-haired beast camp and the centaur camp. In this way, if it cast the spell that Eupheny judged, it would not affect the centaur side, but would pour all the damage to the sharp-haired beast camp. It didn't take long for the rolling red cloud to change. The red cloud seemed to have accumulated enough strength and stopped churning. Suddenly, dozens of huge meteorites fell from the red cloud, with scorching flames attached to them. Under the driving force of gravity plus speed plus skills, dozens of meteorites seemed to have fallen on the heads of the spiky-haired beasts the moment they appeared. A wave of meteorites brought more than 70% of the spiky-haired beasts into the attack range. Although there were only dozens of meteorites and there were about 200 spiky-haired beasts, the huge meteorites would not only hit the spiky-haired beasts when they landed on the ground, but also cause fire damage to the surrounding units. For a while, the spiky-haired beast camp was full of ghosts and wolves howling. However, the spiky-haired beasts were also representatives of thick skin and flesh, and a wave of meteorites did not cause much damage. At least through the vision of the owl, Eupheny did not find any spiky-haired beasts, that died under this wave of meteorites. After the meteorites fell to the ground, they disappeared quickly. After all, they were just a shaping spell formed by magic energy, not a real meteorite. It is also for this reason that the spiky beasts did not suffer too many casualties. If it were a real meteorite, it would have killed people and pigs. But as far as Yufei knows, this spell can cause more than one wave of meteorite rain as expected. When the spiky beasts didn't know what was going on and the injured spiky beasts were humming in confusion, the second wave of meteorite rain came. This is a skill in Warcraft that is very similar to Blizzard, but has opposite properties. Fire rain. There were 5 waves of fire rain in total. After 5 waves of fire rain, the ground of the entire spiky beast camp had become bumpy. In fact, this fire rain did not kill many spiky beasts. After all, spiky beasts are also representatives of thick skin and blood. Only a dozen unlucky spiky beasts were hit by 5 meteorites in a row and died unfortunately. But the centaur wizard cast this skill not to kill, but to disrupt the formation of the spiky beasts. And its goal was achieved. After 5 waves of fire rain, the formation of the spiky beasts had already become fragmented due to the impact of meteorites and chaotic evasion. At this time, most of the relatively fragile spiky beast doctors were directly exposed to the centaurs. Of course, the centaurs would not miss this good opportunity. Some of the centaur's forerunners entangled the spiky beast emperor and 6 spiky beast leaders at the risk of their lives, while the other centaur's forerunners and centaur's longbowmen started charging directly. The centaurs are natural cavalry. Under the leadership of the 3 centaurs, the melee centaur's forerunners quickly rushed into the extremely chaotic camp of the spiky beasts. As a long-range unit, the centaur's longbowmen began to wander around the spiky beast camp, after rushing out for a distance. At first glance, they really have the flavor of Mongolian cavalry archers. Although the spiky beast doctor also belongs to the spiky beast family with thick skin and flesh, as a magic unit, it is much more fragile after all. Under the dual attack of the centaur forerunners and the centaur longbowmen, although they summoned 2 soul pigs to resist, they still fell under the battle axes of the centaur forerunners and the arrows of the centaur longbowmen. The emperor of the spiky-haired beasts had already reacted at this time. He roared and led 6 spiky-haired beast commanders to rush towards the spiky-haired beast camp without paying attention to the centaurs entangled with them. Although the dozen centaur forerunners who were assigned to entangle the spiky-haired beast commander who was entangled with the emperor of the spiky-haired beasts attacked hard and swung their battle axes vigorously, they still could not stop the attack of the emperor of the spiky-haired beasts and the spiky-haired beast commander. I saw a centaur forerunner slamming his battle axe on the back of the emperor of the spiky-haired beasts, but the emperor of the spiky-haired beasts ignored it and continued to rush forward. Looking closely, there was a red mark on the place where the centaur forerunner's battle axe hit. It was just scratching the oily skin. Although a wound can be formed on the leader of the spiky-haired beast, the wound is shallow enough. A centaur forerunner remembered the order given by the centaur leader to entangle the emperor of the spiky-haired beast. Now seeing that the emperor of the spiky-haired beast no longer fights with them and is determined to rush to the spiky-haired beast camp, it directly uses its 4 hooves to charge and block the way of the emperor of the spiky-haired beast. Of course, the emperor of the spiky-haired beast is not a pushover. He was attacked by the centaur forerunner just now, but did not fight back, just to save time and rushed to the spiky-haired beast camp to save the doctor of the spiky-haired beast. Besides, the attack of the centaur forerunner did not cause any harm to it, so it was too lazy to care about the centaur forerunner. But now this centaur forerunner is directly blocking its way. It is really unbearable for the aunt and uncle. The emperor of the spiky-haired beast smashed the centaur forerunner who blocked the road with a hammer. Ow, today is the 3rd chapter. I'm late for a long time. I apologize first and then explain. Hanchan has been writing novels in internet cafes. Today, I don't know why my computer went haywire. I restarted it twice, and the chapter that was almost finished was gone. I learned from my mistakes and saved it the 2nd time, but everyone knows that the computers in internet cafes are all installed with restore wizards. I wrote a chapter 3 times, and Hanchan felt very frustrated. Okay, I won't say more. I will ask for votes from Sanjiang as usual to keep the 1st place. Chapter 65, The Great Centaur Wizard with Many Tricks. The centaur forerunner had just rushed to the front of the sharp-haired beast emperor when he saw a huge chain hammer smashing down. He gritted his teeth, raised his battle axe, and rushed towards the chain hammer of the sharp-haired beast emperor. Clang, a not very loud sound of weapons colliding was heard. Then a figure flew out. A closer look showed that the centaur forerunner who fought desperately to resist the sharp-haired beast emperor could not withstand the huge force of the sharp-haired beast emperor. With one blow, he was knocked away by the sharp-haired beast emperor along with his weapon. When the centaur forerunner landed, he was already lifeless. It was obvious that he was killed by a hammer because of the huge gap in strength. The sharp-haired beast emperor only paused for a moment when the weapons collided and then continued to run towards the sharp-haired beast camp that was being devastated by the centaurs. Although the 6 sharp-haired beast leaders quickly repelled and even injured the centaur forerunners who blocked their way, they were not as agile as the sharp-haired beast emperor. After a slight delay, they fell behind the sharp-haired beast emperor. Yufei, who had been paying attention to the battle situation on the field, suddenly discovered that under the protection of the 2 centaurs, the centaur wizard had quietly approached the battlefield. At this time, the sharp-haired beast emperor had not yet reached the sharp-haired beast camp. The 6 sharp-haired beast leaders behind him were intercepted by the centaurs and were a distance away from him. At this moment, it can be said that he was temporarily in a single moment. Could it be that the centaur wizard saw that the sharp-haired beast emperor was in a single moment and wanted to force him to have sex? No, he wanted to force the sharp-haired beast emperor to fall? No, that's not right. Anyway, that's what I meant. What happened next was just as Yufei expected. Under the command of the centaur wizard, the 2 centaur leaders who were protecting him, relying on their own 5 legs, while the sharp-haired beast emperor only had 3 legs, cut into the sharp-haired beast emperor's path and stopped the sharp-haired beast emperor. The sharp-haired beast emperor, who was stopped by the centaurs again, was obviously very unhappy, and the screams of the sharp-haired beast in front of him made him even more angry. Immediately, it shook its arms and smashed towards the 2 centaurs with all its might. Bang! This time the sound of the collision was much louder. The 2 centaurs saw the chain hammer of the sharp-haired beast emperor coming, and at the same time, raised their huge battle axes in their hands and tried their best to meet it. This time they barely took on the attack of the sharp-haired beast emperor. After all, the centaurs were also level 7 monsters in Warcraft, much stronger than the level 5 centaurs forerunners, and they were 2 people resisting together, so it was naturally a lot easier. However, Yufei, who had been spying on the side with the help of an owl, still found that at the moment of the weapons clashing, the hind legs of the 2 centaurs softened for a moment, and then they stood up with all their might, barely resisting the attack of the sharp-haired beast emperor. Obviously, the power of 2 level 7 monsters is still not as strong as that of the level 9 sharp-haired beast emperor, which is equivalent to the epic level. In theory, the 2 centaur leaders could only slightly block the advance of the emperor of the spiky beasts. Even if they could temporarily delay the advance, they would definitely not be able to resist until the emperor of the spiky beasts got serious and focused on dealing with them instead of rushing back to the spiky beast camp to organize the chaotic spiky beasts. Moreover, there were 6 spiky beast commanders of equal strength behind the emperor of the spiky beasts who would arrive soon. In this case, the blockade would be meaningless. However, in addition to the 2 centaur leaders, the great centaur wizard was there to support them. It seemed that the great centaur wizard was not much weaker than the emperor of the spiky beasts. If the 2 centaur leaders held off the emperor of the spiky beasts in front, and the great centaur wizard provided assistance and DPS in the back, even the emperor of the spiky beasts would probably suffer a bitter defeat. Sure enough, the great centaur wizard had already taken action when the 2 centaur leaders blocked the emperor of the spiky beasts charge. It first cast the bloodthirst spell on the 2 centaur leaders, and then raised the bone staff, muttering something, obviously preparing some spell. The preparation time for skills in Warcraft is naturally very short, almost non-existent. Soon the centaur wizard released the spell he had prepared, but this spell surprised Yufei. The centaur wizard's spell was not cast at the location of the emperor of the spiky beast, but at the location of the 6 spiky beast commanders who had just rushed out of the interception of more than a dozen centaur pioneers. A huge lava ball with flames suddenly appeared behind the 6 spiky beast commanders, and then began to roll forward. This lava ball seemed to have only a thin layer of rock on the outside, and through the broken part of this layer of rock, you could even see the hot magma inside. But strangely, the magma did not flow out from the broken part of the rock, but only caused a layer of hot flames to be attached to the outside of the rock layer. According to common sense, a thin layer of rock obviously cannot contain so much magma, and the liquid magma will also flow out. Obviously, this layer of rock is made of magic power, and I'm afraid that the magma inside is also the same. Feeling the heat behind them, several sharp-haired beast leaders couldn't help but look back, and this look made them scared to death. The lava ball rolled faster and faster, and it was about to hit. No, it shouldn't be hit here. The lava ball was about to crush them. Several sharp-haired beast leaders reacted quickly. Some of them immediately accelerated and continued to rush forward, hoping to run over the lava ball. Some exerted force on both sides, preparing to avoid the lava ball. But everything they did was in vain. The lava ball actually rolled very fast, and the acceleration became higher and higher during the rolling process. Several sharp-haired beast leaders had just reacted when the lava ball had already crushed them. But strangely, the lava ball did not knock down the sharp-haired beast leaders, but made them fall into a dizzy state, pushing them forward with the lava ball. However, the flames on the lava ball kept burning the 6 poor sharp-haired beast leaders. It seems that it took a long time from the appearance of the lava ball to the crushing of the sharp-haired beast leaders, but in fact it only took 2 or 3 seconds, which shows how fast the lava ball rolled. The lava ball pushed the 6 sharp-haired beast leaders, but the rolling speed did not decrease at all, but became faster and faster. 1 second later, the lava ball had brought the 6 sharp-haired beast leaders to the back of the sharp-haired beast emperor. The 2 centaurs obviously knew that this would happen, and they evacuated from the sharp-haired beast emperor early, so that the lava ball would not affect them. @TODAY' first chapter. I'm still asking for Sanjiang votes as usual. If you don't have any, please go and vote. It's just a matter of moving the mouse. After 2 o'clock, the Sanjiang tickets from yesterday to today will be invalid. Chapter 66 Stalemate. The Emperor of the Sharp-Haired Beasts was very happy to see the 2 centaur leaders retreat, and immediately prepared to continue advancing towards the Sharp-Haired Beast camp. However, the lava ball had already come behind him. The Emperor of the Sharp-Haired Beasts was quite large. If he lay on the ground, he would probably be similar to the hippopotamus that Eupheny had seen. But compared to the lava ball summoned by the centaur wizard, its size seemed a little smaller. Boom. The lava ball that pushed the 6 sharp-haired beast leaders forward finally hit the Emperor of the Sharp-Haired Beasts, bringing him into a dizzy state. After hitting the Emperor of the Sharp-Haired Beasts, the lava ball stopped rolling, and several sharp-haired beast leaders also woke up from their dizzy state. The defense of the sharp-haired beasts can be said to be one of the highest among creatures of the same level, and the flames burning along the way did not cause any major damage. But the scene that happened next made Eupheny feel cold in his heart, although the scene was very hot. How hot was it? After the lava ball stopped, the thin layer of rock wrapped in the lava suddenly shattered, and the entire lava ball burst directly, and all the lava poured onto the sharp-haired beast leader and the sharp-haired beast emperor. Humma! The screams of the sharp-haired beast leader and the sharp-haired beast emperor resounded throughout the wasteland. The miserable sound and picture made the owl close his eyes involuntarily. It should be that Tyrant couldn't bear to see this picture. This scene reminded Eupheny of the situation when he was a child living in the countryside, and he used boiling water to remove the pig hair before slaughtering the pig. Everything in front of him was so similar to that scene. It's just that the boiling water was replaced by lava, and the domestic pig became a porcupine, a sharp-haired beast. However, although the eruption of the lava bowl brought great pain and great damage to the sharp-haired beast emperor and the 6 sharp-haired beast leaders, it was naturally difficult to get rid of them with just this spell. They withstood the burning of the magma and rushed out of the range covered by the magma. The 7 sharp-haired beasts that rushed out were not doing well, and their appearances were also greatly changed. Apart from other things, the whole body changed its skin and turned black. The front ends of the thorns on the bodies of the weaker spiky beast leaders had already carbonized, and there were several pits on their bodies that were burned by the magma, but there was no bleeding. The wounds had long been cooked and carbonized by the high temperature, blocking the flow of blood. The spiky beast emperor was better because he was strong and was not burned by the lava ball, but he was also dressed in black, and the chain hammer in his hand was deformed under the high temperature. This series of things happened in a flash. The spiky beast emperor originally thought that after the two centaur leaders gave way, he could immediately rush to the spiky beast camp that was struggling to resist, but he didn't expect that the series of actions of the centaur wizard made it suffer a great loss. The angry spiky beast emperor didn't care about the lives of those low-level spiky beasts. He snorted at the 6 spiky beast leaders who were still wailing, then turned around and looked at the centaur wizard angrily. Judging from the series of designs by the centaur wizard, it is obviously not stupid. Of course, it knows that after its lava ball sneak attack, the emperor of the spiky beast will definitely come after it. Therefore, the centaur wizard has long arranged the 2 centaur leaders and more than 10 centaur forerunners who just made way for the emperor of the spiky beast between it and the emperor of the spiky beast, and released the group bloodthirst again. At this time, the situation on the field is, a large group of centaur forerunners and centaur longbowmen are wreaking havoc in the spiky beast camp whose formation was disrupted by the rain of fire, but the 6 spiky beast commanders rushed there directly, after receiving the order from the emperor of the spiky beast. On the south side of the melee part, the 2 big bosses, the centaur wizard and the emperor of the spiky beast are confronting each other, with a small group of centaurs in between. The formation of the spiky beasts is in chaos, and the arrangement of melee units and ranged units is very chaotic. Many spiky beast doctors are exposed to the centaurs. However, after the 6 sharp-haired beast commanders rushed over, a stalemate was still formed. After all, there were only 3 centaur leaders of the same level as the sharp-haired beast commanders on the centaur side. So now it depends on the victory or defeat between the sharp-haired beast emperor and the centaur great wizard. The sharp-haired beast emperor has been staring at the centaur great wizard fiercely, and it is obvious that he wants to kill the centaur great wizard, but there are more than a dozen centaurs with blessed states between him and the centaur great wizard, and it is difficult to rush over for a while. Yufei is also thinking at this time, what should the sharp-haired beast emperor do? The sharp-haired beast emperor is a melee unit, and if you want to attack the centaur great wizard, you must rush to it. But the 2 centaur leaders and more than a dozen centaur pioneers are enough to temporarily block it, making it difficult for it to approach the centaur great wizard. While being blocked, the great centaur wizard will definitely attack again. If it is hit by several skills with the same power as the lava ball, it will be difficult to support it with its vitality and defense. The only way now is to quickly get rid of the melee centaurs blocking the way. If it were just now, it would only be a matter of a war trample and a thunder strike, but now the magic value of the spiky beast emperor should have been almost consumed, and he can't release any skills. Yufei shook his head. He couldn't think of what the spiky beast emperor should do at this time. Even if the spiky beast emperor still has some magic value left, it is only enough to release one skill at most. And whether it is War Trample or Thunder Strike, it is impossible to get rid of so many centaurs in one blow, and these melee centaurs are reminded by the great centaur wizard, and they are standing more loosely. The attack range of the 2 skills of the spiky beast emperor is not that wide. But facing such an unfavorable situation, the spiky beast emperor quickly took action. It was seen bending down, pointing its head in the direction of the great centaur wizard, and raising the chain hammer in its hand in front of its head. What is he doing? Is the emperor of the sharp-haired beast going to use that ultimate move? Yufei thought of an ultimate move that has appeared in countless movies, TV series, and novels. Could it be? Could it be? Is the emperor of the sharp-haired beast going to use that ultimate move that will shock the heavens and the earth, make the gods and ghosts weep, and kill anyone who stands in my way, even Buddhas? Please spare my life. While Yufei was still thinking about these ridiculous thoughts, the emperor of the sharp-haired beast had the next move. After bending down, raising his weapon, and posing, it did not surrender as Yufei had imagined. The emperor of the sharp-haired beast glowed blood all over, breathing heavily through his nose, and he started charging directly at it *2 o'clock, today's second chapter. It's time to vote for Sanjiang at 2 o'clock. Chapter 67 The Death of the Great Centaur Wizard. The figure of the Emperor of the Pointy-Haired Beast had almost reached the front of the Great Centaur Wizard the moment he rushed out, and at this moment, several screams suddenly came. Looking closely, it turned out that a road paved with blood and flesh appeared in the defense line formed by the centaurs standing between the Emperor of the Pointy-Haired Beast and the Great Centaur Wizard. In addition to the 2 centaur leaders, there were also 12 centaur forerunners protecting the Great Centaur Wizard. A total of 16 melee centaurs formed a 4x4 square formation in order to stop the Emperor of the Pointy-Haired Beast. But now it seems that the 8 centaurs on both sides have not suffered any damage, but the 8 centaur forerunners in the middle have disappeared directly. Looking at the passage between the remaining 8 centaurs, Yufei took a breath of cold air. The ground of this passage was stained with a shocking red. This is the blood of the 8 disappeared centaur forerunners. On the red ground, you can see broken limbs and some minced meat. Bang! This is the sound of a battle axe spinning in the air for a few times and hitting the ground. Yufei woke up and looked at the Emperor of the Spiky Beast who had raised his chain hammer to hit the Centaur Wizard in disbelief. How is this possible? The Emperor of the Spiky Beast actually rushed directly to the Centaur Wizard. Yufei frowned and thought of it in a flash. This should be the 30th level ultimate skill of the Tauran Chieftain in Warcraft 3C, Savage Charge. Judging from the effect of this skill of the Emperor of the Spiky Beast, it should be Savage Charge. I didn't expect that this Emperor of the Spiky Beast, who looked stupid and was played around by the Centaur Wizard, actually kept a sharp mind, saved some magic points, and hid the Savage Charge skill without using it. It's really not simple. But think about it. After all, he is the patriarch of a tribe, and his IQ cannot be too low. Now, the Centaur Wizard was in trouble. He certainly didn't expect that the Emperor of the Spiky Beast would have such a trick. He might be overturned by the Emperor of the Spiky Beast. The Centaur Wizard was also shocked to see the Emperor of the Spiky Beast suddenly appear in front of him. The Emperor of the Spiky Beast was targeting him, and he felt the most deeply about this skill of the Emperor of the Spiky Beast. The Centaur Wizard only felt a flash in front of his eyes. The Emperor of the Spiky Beast, who was originally 200 or 300 meters away and was separated by more than a dozen centaurs, appeared in front of him and raised the huge chain hammer in his hand. Exclamation mark. Not good. The Centaur Wizard was screaming in his heart. He was a magic unit and was approached by the Emperor of the Spiky Beast, a melee overlord. He could imagine what the consequences would be with his big toe. At this time, the chain hammer of the sharp-haired beast Emperor had already smashed down. Although the chain hammer was slightly deformed by the magma ejected from the lava ball, with the great strength of the sharp-haired beast Emperor, if it fell on the Centaur Great Wizard, a magic unit, it would be seriously injured if not dead. However, the Centaur Great Wizard is worthy of being the head of the clan. Although he was still secretly surprised by the brutal collision of the sharp-haired beast Emperor, his movements were not slow. He did not see any big movements, but the bone staff in his hand trembled slightly, and a tongue of fire immediately appeared in front of him, attacking the sharp-haired beast Emperor like a dragon's breath. This is flame breathing. Yufei recognized this skill. It seems that the Centaur Great Wizard is a pure fire wizard. The 3 attack spells displayed now are all fire skills, and the bloodthirsty spell can barely be regarded as a fire skill if you force it. The sharp-haired beast Emperor ignored the flames that almost wrapped him up and continued to attack his intended target, the head of the Centaur Great Wizard. However, at this time, the intention of the Centaur Wizard to cast the fire breath was also revealed. The attack power of the fire breath is not very strong, at least it is much worse than the lava ball, but the flames can disturb the enemy's vision. At this time, the vision of the spiky beast Emperor was disturbed. The chain hammer that was originally smashed at the head of the Centaur Wizard hit the chest of the Centaur Wizard. The Centaur's physique is also quite strong. If the head was hit by the spiky beast Emperor, the Centaur Wizard would definitely die immediately, without a doubt. But now it only hit the upper body. Although the chest is also a vital point, it is not fatal to the Centaur's physique. The Centaur Wizard tried his best to support his injuries, spread his 4 hooves and turned back. At this time, the remaining 8 Centaur who were originally blocking the spiky beast Emperor and the Centaur Wizard also reacted and rushed over here quickly. Among the 8 surviving centaur, there are 6 centaur pioneers. The 2 centaurs just happened to stand in the 2 rows on the sides, and they were lucky not to be attacked by the savage charge of the spiky-haired beast emperor. But then again, if they stood in the 2 rows in the middle, with the strength of 2 sky-level beasts, they might be able to barely block the savage charge of the spiky-haired beast emperor. In this way, the centaur wizard would not be in such a dangerous situation now. Looking at it this way, I don't know whether they are lucky or unfortunate. With the advantage of having 2 more legs than the spiky-haired beasts, the distance between the several centaurs who caught up and the spiky-haired beast emperor is constantly shortening. But at the same time, the distance between the spiky-haired beast emperor and the centaur wizard is also constantly shortening. The centaur wizard is now seriously injured and can't run fast. In this way, the centaur wizard ran in the front, followed by the spiky-haired beast emperor, and the centaurs behind followed. Euphili suddenly felt that he had seen this scene somewhere before. That's right. In a certain cartoon, it seems that there is often a lazy sheep running in front, big grey wolf chasing behind, and other sheep following behind to rescue the lazy sheep. Damn, my mind is wandering again. Yufei concentrated his mind and continued to observe the current situation. The great centaur wizard also has 4 legs after all. Although he is not as fast as the emperor of the sharp-haired beast at this time, because of his serious injury, the distance between the 2 beasts is short and much slower than the distance between several Malay centaurs and the emperor of the sharp-haired beast. After a while, several Malay centaurs caught up with the emperor of the sharp-haired beast. Catcher, a centaur leader, chopped the emperor of the sharp-haired beast's back with a battle axe, and actually chopped off a lot of the thorns on the emperor of the sharp-haired beast, leaving a deep wound on it. The centaur leader was delighted. It seems that after several fire attacks, the emperor of the sharp-haired beast's defense and vitality have decreased a lot. Several centaurs quickly surrounded the emperor of the sharp-haired beast, staring at the emperor of the sharp-haired beast with a covetous look. The great centaur wizard, who was still running in front, turned his head and saw that the emperor of the pointed beast was surrounded. He breathed a sigh of relief, stopped running, and turned to look at the emperor of the pointed beast. However, when he turned around, a huge chain hammer in front of him was getting bigger and bigger. Bang! The chain hammer hit the wound on the chest of the great centaur wizard fiercely. The great centaur wizard, who was already seriously injured, fell down and died without a word. Bow today, the 3rd chapter is presented. Sanjiang votes. Book friends who are off work, don't forget to vote for Sanjiang. Thank you Tong and Fifi for the reward of 5888 starting coins. Tong and Fifi, you are so awesome. Last time, you became a deacon directly with 41888 starting coins in one day. With today's, congratulations to Tong and Fifi for becoming the 2nd helmsman of this book. Chapter 68, Reversal again. No way. Yufei looked at the emperor of the pointed beast who was surrounded by 8 centaurs. He was in the posture of David throwing a discus, and the chain hammer in his hand was gone. The emperor of the pointed beast threw his weapon out! Exclamation mark. The great centaur wizard was killed directly by this flying hammer. This reality is indeed different from the game. In the game, melee units are melee units. Even if you have a longbow, as long as the attribute is set to melee, you have to fight with the longbow. But it is different in this real alien world. The low and medium level monsters may not have such wisdom, but the high level monsters, especially the head of a tribe like the emperor of the pointed beast, are already very intelligent and naturally know how to adapt. It is not surprising that the emperor of the pointed beast can think of throwing the chain hammer to kill the great centaur wizard. However, you have to be careful in the future. Even if the enemy is a melee unit, it is possible to give you a flying X long range attack. The great centaur wizard was really unlucky and was hit by the emperor of the spiky beast. If he hadn't stopped for a moment, he could have escaped or even killed the emperor of the spiky beast. The emperor of the spiky beast was not having a good time at this time. He first rushed left and right in the centaur camp. Although ordinary centaurs could not cause any harm to him, he still spent a lot of effort. Later, he was hit head on by the lava ball, and it exploded at close range, which caused him serious injuries. After using the savage collision, he was directly engulfed by the fire breath of the great centaur wizard. Although the fire breath caused serious injuries to the great centaur wizard, his own injuries were naturally aggravated. So now the Emperor of the Spiky Beast can be said to be covered with scars. The most important thing is that after he solved the Great Centaur Wizard with a flying hammer from the sky, he also lost his weapon. There were 2 centaur leaders and 6 centaur forerunners around them, staring at them. However, the Emperor of the Spiky Beast was indeed an epic creature. Under such unfavorable circumstances, he still fought hard with the 8 centaurs, and it seemed that he had the upper hand. Bang! A centaur forerunner was knocked away by the elbow of the Emperor of the Spiky Beast, with a large dent in his chest and blood spurting out of his mouth. It was obvious that he was dead. In fact, in the centaur team that besieged the Emperor of the Spiky Beast, the 6 centaur forerunners really played no role. Although the Emperor of the Spiky Beast was already covered with wounds, their attacks still only left a red mark on him, and after the Emperor of the Spiky Beast lost his weapon, he could still easily cause fatal damage to the centaur forerunners. Sure enough, after a while, the 6 centaur forerunners were either seriously injured or died directly, and withdrew from the siege of the Emperor of the Spiky Beast. At this time, it was the confrontation between the Emperor of the Sharp-Haired Beast and the 2 centaur chieftains. In normal times, the Emperor of the Sharp-Haired Beast would not be afraid of not only 2 centaur chieftains, but even 5 centaur chieftains. 2 skills would be enough, and at most 1 centaur could finish it off with 1 hammer. But now the Emperor of the Sharp-Haired Beast had no magic points left, and his chain hammer had also been thrown out by himself. He could only rely on his strong body to fight against the 2 centaur chieftains. For a while, it was really difficult to win. The gap between level 9 and level 7 was still very large. After a while, a centaur chieftain was hit in the vitals by the Emperor of the Sharp-Haired Beast, staggered back, and lost the battle. Looking at the last remaining enemy in front of him, the Emperor of the Sharp-Haired Beast had a grim smile on his face. After dealing with this centaur chieftain, he could return to the Sharp-Haired Beast camp and organize a formation. With my unstoppable fighting power, I will surely win soon, so that my Sharp-Haired Beast tribe can possess the holy object alone. But just when the Sharp-Haired Beast Emperor was full of pride and was ready to kill the last centaur leader in one go, boom, a fireball hit the Sharp-Haired Beast Emperor. Although the fireball was hot, the Sharp-Haired Beast Emperor felt a chill in his heart and looked up in the direction of the fireball. Since the centaur wizard was killed, Yufei has not paid attention to the battle between the Sharp-Haired Beast Emperor and the 8 centaurs, because he knows that the 8 centaurs can never compete with the epic Sharp-Haired Beast Emperor even if the Sharp-Haired Beast Emperor is already wounded and has lost his weapon. Yufei has been paying attention to the body of the centaur wizard because he has a guess in his heart. And soon, his guess was confirmed. About 30 seconds after the centaur wizard fell, a circle of fire lotus-like light suddenly rose around its body, and then the centaur wizard turned into a centaur angel in this light circle and slowly ascended to heaven. Of course, this was impossible. Under the gaze of Yufei, the owl, the centaur wizard slowly stood up from the light circle! Exclamation mark. Looking at the centaur wizard at this moment, there was no scar on his body, and he looked energetic, which obviously agreed with Yufei's guess. Yufei remembered that in Warcraft, the leader of the centaur tribe was the centaur Khan instead of the centaur wizard. The ultimate skill of the centaur Khan is the same as the Tauran chieftain in the strategy version, which is rebirth, which is the legendary Zinchunja skill. After being killed, the centaur Khan will soon be resurrected with full health, full mana and full status on the spot. Although this great centaur wizard is different from the centaur Khan, perhaps he has undergone some kind of mutation. As the patriarch of the centaur tribe, Yufei guessed that he still has the skill of rebirth. Otherwise, this great centaur wizard would not have shown even a trace of reluctance when he was killed by the chain hammer of the pointed beast emperor. The resurrected great centaur wizard was full of health, full of mana, and full of status, while the pointed beast emperor was at the end of his strength at this time, and the situation on the field was reversed again. Yufei couldn't help but slap his branch and sighed. This life is so exciting. The pointed beast emperor, who was hit by the fireball, shuddered and obviously understood his unfavorable situation at this time. Without any hesitation, it ignored the remaining centaur leader and turned around and ran towards the direction of the pointed beast camp and the melee. It is still some distance away from the great centaur wizard. With its 3-legged speed, it is obviously not close to the 5-legged centaur wizard, so it can only escape first. Maybe if we run back to the spiky haired beast camp, we can organize a resistance and then turn the tables. The first chapter is presented today, and I'm asking for votes from Sanjiang. Thanks to Duai plus Zinayu for their 588 starting coins and Howshid AVB for their 588 starting coins. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69. Pigs and horses fight, the elves gain. However, the centaur wizard would not let the emperor of the spiky beast return to his camp so easily. At its signal, the remaining centaur leader raised his arms and raised his battle axe to block the emperor of the spiky beast. The emperor of the spiky beast obviously did not want to tangle with the centaur leader, so he swung his arm to push the centaur leader away and continued to rush forward. However, both the centaur leader and the centaur wizard were much faster than it, and it soon fell into crisis again. After the centaur wizard blessed the bloodthirst spell, the centaur leader had difficulty resisting the emperor of the spiky beast, while the centaur wizard was attacking from a distance. Fortunately, the centaur wizard did not have any powerful single target attack skills. Otherwise, with the full mana after resurrection, he would have used his skills to directly kill the emperor of the spiky beast. At this time, the emperor of the spiky beasts had also learned his lesson. While fighting with the centaur leader, he would occasionally glance up or behind him, obviously guarding against the two skills of the centaur wizard, lava ball and fire rain. The centaur wizard was also a little depressed. Lava ball and fire rain were difficult to hit prepared enemies. Most of them were used in group battles, and fire breathing required close combat. What if the emperor of the spiky beast suddenly killed him again? The cooldown time of the rebirth skill was very long. The depressed centaur wizard could only release fireballs one by one, slowly causing damage to the emperor of the spiky beasts. Now they were really in a stalemate. The middle and low level spiky beasts and centaurs were fighting over there, and the leaders of both sides were in a stalemate over here. The two sides were now inseparable, and some external force must intervene to break the situation. Swoosh, 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 the external force came. A centaur forerunner was swinging his battle axe at a spiky beast doctor. With the cooperation of the centaur longbowman, the two soul pigs summoned by the spiky beast doctor in front of him had been dealt with. A low-level magic unit was very vulnerable to the centaur forerunner. Suddenly, an arrow pierced through his chest, and the centaur forerunner's arms, which were holding the battle axe high, softened. He looked down at the arrow that pierced his chest and fell down in confusion. Why would the centaur longbowman attack him? This was certainly not an arrow from the centaur longbowman. More than 50 centaur longbowmen were still busy with their own affairs. More than 100 arrows fell on the centaur's head, causing their good situation to become chaotic. These were the arrows from the Night Elf archers. Some readers may be confused. There are only more than 50 archers now, so where do more than 100 arrows come from? Of course, this was all due to skill. 18 elite archers with the shadow arrow skill shot 54 arrows, and the other 36 archers shot 36 arrows. Then, Avril shot 12 arrows with a rain of arrows, which totaled over 100. The first round of attack by the Night Elves was mainly aimed at the centaurs, because they were the only ones on the field that could threaten the forest wolves and Night Elves who had a long-range advantage. The centaurs first experienced a round of arrow rain, and then countless agile figures rushed into their team. Looking closely, they turned out to be wild wolves. While the wild wolves rushed into the centaurs, the female hunters also wandered around them and threw out moonblades. For a moment, the centaurs felt like they were trapped in hell, facing the arrows pouring down from their heads, the wild wolves with sharp teeth and claws, and the moonblades that kept bouncing in the team. Under the concentrated firepower saturation attack, more than 50 centaur longbowmen were eliminated in a short time without any suspense. Then, under Tyrann's order, the wild wolves retreated to protect the Night Elves, and did not get involved in the ongoing melee between the centaurs and the spiky beasts. However, the archers continued to attack with their extremely long range, but this time the target was not the centaurs, but the spiky beast doctor. After the spiky beast camp was disrupted by the fire rain of the centaur wizard, the poor spiky beast doctor was directly exposed to the centaurs and was slaughtered. Fortunately, after a while, 6 spiky beast leaders rushed back and organized a counterattack, which saved many spiky beast doctors. But just after they calmed down, they were stared at by a group of long-range death gods. Under the arrows of the archers, the spiky beast doctor looked extremely vulnerable. Now they are in a melee, and there are no other close combat spiky beasts to block their guns. The soul pigs have just been summoned, and their skills are still on cooldown. This group of battered spiky beast doctors can only bear the attacks of the archers. As early as when the spiky beast emperor used war trampling and thunderstrike to kill people everywhere, Yufei quietly conveyed the order and asked Tyrion to lead the exploration team to the surrounding area. Now the situation is completely deadlocked. It is the best time to do the things of sending charcoal in the snow and taking advantage of the fire. Yufei gave an order, and the exploration team that had been ambushing for a while naturally rushed out. As for why he didn't attack the 2 big bosses, but slaughtered the soldiers, Yufei naturally had his own ideas. The 2 big bosses are not easy to mess with. After all, they are epic creatures and their wisdom is not low. If you attack them, maybe they will stop fighting temporarily. To maintain peace at home, you must first resist the outside. Attacking their little brothers is different, although it will make them feel urgent. After all, the 2 big bosses are still wrestling, and it is not so easy to stop. After all the minions are dealt with, what can epic creatures like the Emperor of the Spiky Beasts and the Great Centaur Wizard do? Yufei is still very good at besieging and killing boss. By then, the 2 commanders without troops will become the experience of the Night Elves. The Centaur longbowmen are long-range units, and their range is not close, so they must be dealt with first. As for the spiky beast doctor, he is relatively thin-skinned and fragile, and has such a disgusting skill as healing, so of course he must be killed as soon as possible. The Emperor of the Spiky Beasts and the Great Centaur Wizard were also surprised to see the sudden appearance of the exploration team. They didn't know that there were other forces nearby. Only a few groups of very weak upright creatures that looked like wolves or dogs came here, and they were killed one by one. If they were not used to the dry wasteland environment and were very uncomfortable with the forest environment, plus they had to protect the holy relics and could not stay away, the spiky beasts and centaurs would have gone to the place where the group of creatures came to explore. Where did this group of creatures come from? And they attacked both sides without hesitation. The Emperor of Pointed Beasts and the Great Centaur Wizard were both confused. But just as Yufei expected, it was difficult for them to stop at this time. The second chapter is presented today. It's 2 o'clock, and you can get new Sanjiang tickets. Let's go to Sanjiang. Thanks to Frindx1888 for starting coins, for 200 starting coins, and Blood Moon, and Starmeteorite for 100 starting coins. Recommend a book. This unlucky kid wrote the article for the main site, but it was posted to the female channel. It's well written, with almost 1 million words, but because it's in the female channel, people don't like to read the main site articles, so the results are terrible. Everyone, please help collect and vote for the recommendation. Anyway, it's a waste to put the recommendation votes in the female channel. Through Train. Chapter 70. Quit while you're at it. Like the Great Centaur Wizard and the Emperor of the Sharp-Haired Beasts, the Sharp-Haired Beasts and Centaurs who were still fighting at this time could not stop. After all, they were entangled together, and it was difficult to distinguish between you and me. If they stopped, the other side would attack them. Wouldn't it be miserable? So although the archers were still pouring arrows at both sides of the melee, none of the sharp-haired beasts and centaurs had the intention to stop fighting and face the outside world in unison, including the commanders and fighters with higher wisdom on both sides, the sharp-haired beast commander and the centaurs. Yufei chose to let the feral wolves and the night elves enter the battlefield at this point for this purpose. Even though they knew that this would not work, and that the new forces would slowly weaken their combat effectiveness, both sides could not stop. In this way, under the tacit non-resistance policy of the sharp-haired beasts and centaurs, the archers also eliminated all the sharp-haired beast doctors. It is said that they should kill the remaining low level and medium level spiky beasts and centaurs in one go, and then go to kill the two big bosses, the spiky beast emperor and the centaur wizard, but Yufei did not do so. Instead, he asked the archers to stop attacking. Yufei knew that the spiky beast emperor and the centaur wizard were not stupid. If they saw that he was about to become a commander without troops, they would definitely temporarily join forces to deal with the wild wolves and the night elves, and then continue their fight. It is better to withdraw while you are ahead. Now there are still about 100 centaur pioneers and a slightly smaller number of spiky beast warriors left on the field. They have not yet touched the bottom line of the centaur wizard and the spiky beast emperor. They still think that the battle between the two of them, beasts, is more important, and naturally they will not organize these men to besiege the exploration team. But for the exploration team, the centaur longbowmen who posed a certain threat have been solved, and the spiky beast doctors with healing abilities have also been killed or injured. In this way, the remaining spiky beasts and centaurs are all melee units, and cannot pose a threat to the exploration team. On the contrary, the exploration team can be said to be in control of the overall situation at this time. There are almost 200 centaurs and spiky beasts in total, which are indeed not weak, but in this wasteland, it is the best place to use the kite flying tactic. According to Yufei's observation, although the centaurs move very fast, they are not as fast as the wild wolves and night elves, and are at most on par with the speed of archers. For the archers of the night elves, shooting arrows while running is simply a piece of cake. In this way, even if the two sides unite to fight against themselves in a while, there is no need to be afraid. Now Yufei is just waiting for the victory or defeat between the spiky beast emperor and the centaur wizard, so that he can take advantage of it. After all, epic creatures are still enough to make Yufei feel daunted. Of course, it would be better if both sides were injured, so that it would be more fun to pick up leaks. In order to reduce the threat level of the exploration team in the minds of the Emperor of the Spiky Beast and the Great Centaur Wizard, Yufei ordered the exploration team to temporarily retreat 2 kilometers away under the leadership of Tyrant, and quietly wait for the final result. The Emperor of the Spiky Beast was seriously injured, and lost his weapon. Although he could still suppress the Centaur leader, he gradually couldn't hold on under the coordinated attack of the Great Centaur Wizard. At the risk of being hit by the fireball of the Great Centaur Wizard and the battle axe of the Centaur leader again, the Emperor of the Spiky Beast swung his arms and hit the Centaur leader twice in a row, making it lose its combat effectiveness. But it itself has reached its limit, and no longer has the strength to attack the Great Centaur Wizard. The Great Centaur Wizard is indeed a sinister and cunning character. Seeing that the Emperor of the Spiky Beast has almost no combat effectiveness, he still refuses to move forward, but casts another lava ball from a distance. The lava ball rolled rapidly towards the Emperor of the Pointy-Haired Beast. The Emperor of the Pointy-Haired Beast barely turned sideways, but the burns all over his body and the wounds from the Centaur's battle axe made him hit by the lava ball only halfway through his action. The lava ball sprayed flames, bringing the Emperor of the Pointy-Haired Beast into a dizzy state, and pushed the Emperor of the Pointy-Haired Beast forward for a distance, and then exploded fiercely. The scorching magma immediately sprayed on the Emperor of the Pointy-Haired Beast. This time, the Emperor of the Pointy-Haired Beast had no strength to run out of the range of the magma eruption, and could only continue to be burned by the magma. When the duration of the magma formed by the magic power reached and disappeared, the Emperor of the Pointy-Haired Beast lay down on the spot, already dying. At this time, the Centaur Wizard walked slowly towards the Emperor of the Pointy-Haired Beast with a sense of satisfaction. When he walked to the Emperor of the Pointy-Haired Beast, he did not whine like the villains in the novel, but waved the bone staff in his hand, and it seemed that he was ready to use a fire breath to directly solve this biggest enemy. However, just as it prepared the spell, and was about to release the fire breath, an arrow flashing with a strong silver-white light suddenly fell from its eyes, and sank straight into the head of the sharp-haired Beast Emperor. The sharp-haired Beast Emperor was originally relying on his strong vitality to barely hang on. After being hit by this blow, it was no surprise that he died. The Centaur Wizard was angry at first, and then he was sweating coldly. He didn't even find out where the attack came from. Looking around, there were no enemies within a radius of hundreds of meters. Could it be that the enemy attacked outside of his field of vision? This is too terrifying. As a magic unit, its vitality and defense are relatively weak. It relies on its strong lethality and extremely long attack range. Now the enemy that suddenly appeared can actually attack outside of his field of vision. The threat to him is too great. Without hesitation, the centaur wizard immediately began to prepare spells, wanting to get rid of the sharp-haired beast in one go, and then put himself under the protection of other centaurs. That arrow was the lunar arrow cast by Tyrande. With this lunar arrow with a very long attack range, Tyrande harvested the life of the sharp-haired beast emperor. However, Yufei found that Tyrande did not get any experience. Normally, this level 9 wild monster should allow Tyrande to gain more than half of her experience. Could it be that Yufei, who was far away in the Night Elf base, showed a smile? This is interesting. Ordering the feral wolves and Night Elves who were about to rush forward to clean up the mess to stay where they are, Yufei asked Tyrande to summon an owl again to observe the battle. As for the previous one, it had disappeared long ago because the duration had expired. Switching the field of vision to the newly summoned owl, Yufei continued his spying career. The third chapter is presented. The kids who are off work, vote for Sanjiang. Thanks to Frindxk for the reward of 4364 Kidian coins. Thanks to KG Alifan for the reward of 200 Kidian coins. Thanks to Kang Deng for the 6 evaluation votes. Congratulations to Frindxk for becoming the third helmsman of this book. Recommend a book about KOKO. Chapter 71 Pig Grunts and Horse Neighs equals Cloud Piercing Arrows. After the Emperor of the Spiky Beasts was killed by Tyrande's lunar arrow, the Great Centaur Wizard never paid attention to the body of the Emperor of the Spiky Beasts. However, after it cast another rain of fire and smashed the Spiky Beasts into tears, an occasional glance at it made its 4 hooves tremble in shock. A circle of fire lotus-like light appeared around the body of the Emperor of the Spiky Beasts. How could the Great Centaur Wizard not recognize it? This was clearly the sound and light effect of the rebirth skill. A trace of haze passed through the Great Centaur Wizard's heart. Unexpectedly, the Emperor of the Spiky Beasts also had the skill of rebirth. After rebirth, the magic value would also return to the upper limit. With the several skills of the Emperor of the Spiky Beasts, whether it was to slaughter ordinary centaurs or to attack him, it was a matter of hand. Judging from the number of centaurs left on the field, the Emperor of the Spiky Beasts could get rid of the remaining centaurs with just 1 pig. However, the Spiky Beasts were in a worse situation. After the Night Elves shot the Spiky Beast doctors to death, they were baptized by the fire rain of the Centaur Wizard. Now there are only 5 Spiky Beast leaders, and about 60 Spiky Beast warriors left. The Centaurs still have 3 Centaur leaders and more than 90 Centaur pioneers who are still capable of fighting. There are also 2 Centaur leaders who just fought with the Spiky Beast Emperor. Although they did not over, they also lost their combat effectiveness. The resurrected Spiky Beast Emperor took a glance and understood the situation at this time. There is not much low-level combat power left on both sides. If this battle continues like this, it will be meaningless. Without a certain number of low-level Spiky Beasts and Centaurs, they will soon perish under the destruction of 2 epic creatures. In Yufei's opinion, the 2 sides can either choose to cease fire or choose to continue the boss battle. Otherwise there will be only a few higher-level combat forces left in the end. But the Centaur Wizard and the Spiky Beast Emperor don't think so. They have other ways. The 2 beasts had used up their trump cards, the rebirth skill. Now if they died again, they would really die. As epic creatures and the leaders of a clan, the Great Centaur Wizard and the Emperor of the Spiky Beast still cherished their lives. The Great Centaur Wizard and the Emperor of the Spiky Beast raised their necks and heads at the same time, opened their mouths, and made a huge sound towards the sky. Of course, one was a huge pig grunt, and the other was a huge horse neigh. The 2 sounds were very loud, and it can be said that they resounded throughout the volcanic wasteland, and even the exploration team hiding 2 kilometers away was startled. Damn, this is the middle of the night. Isn't it scary to suddenly cry like a ghost? Believe it or not, I will ask the neighborhood committee aunt to deal with you 2. Shouting like this in the middle of the night will scare people. Even if it doesn't scare people, it's not good to wake up the flowers and plants. What are the Great Centaur Wizard and the Emperor of the Spiky Beast doing? Are they competing to see who has the loudest voice? However, it was surprising that the Great Centaur Wizard, as a weaker magic unit, could make such a huge horse neigh. After each of them made a huge roar, the great centaur wizard and the emperor of the sharp-haired beast stopped moving, looking like they were waiting for something. After a while, the effects of the pig grunt and horse neigh appeared. From a distance, the sounds of trample, trample, and boom, boom, boom gradually came from different directions, from small to large. It was obvious that there were multiple troops marching. Is this the otherworldly version or the Warcraft version of one arrow piercing the clouds? Thousands of troops come to meet. Fortunately, the exploration troops sit in the south of the Malay, close to the volcano. Otherwise, they would be hit head-on by the centaurs and spiky-haired beasts who came to support their respective bosses, and then it would be a real melee. As expected by Yuffie, from the owl's vision, more than a dozen axe gang members, no, centaurs and spiky-haired beast troops soon appeared. After careful counting, there are 5 spiky beast troops, each of which is led by a spiky beast leader, followed by 4 spiky beast doctors. Behind the spiky beast doctors are 30 or 40 level 3 spiky beast barbarians and 50 or 60 level 1 spiky beast scouts. All 5 spiky beast troops are like this. The centaur side has one more team, a total of 6. Each team is also led by a level 7 centaur leader, but the team behind has several new centaur soldiers. Each of the centaur teams that arrived has 2 or 3 level 5 centaur wizards, and there are about 20 level 4 centaur pioneers and centaur longbowmen. The remaining 40 or 50 centaur are all level 2 centaur laborers and centaur archers. From the perspective of individual teams, each spiky beast team has a lot more people than the centaur team. But the quality of the spiky beast team is obviously not as good as that of the centaur, so it should be based on numbers. But there were only 5 teams of spiky-haired beasts, while there were 6 teams of centaurs. In comparison, the number of spiky-haired beasts was not much more than that of centaurs. The spiky-haired beast emperor who discovered this situation was also angry and doubtful. Yuffie thought about it for a while and understood it. These teams should usually be scattered all over the volcanic wasteland. When summoned by the spiky-haired beast emperor or the centaur wizard, they will gather together. Now the spiky-haired beast emperor and the centaur wizard see that they are short of men, and they are obviously ready to gather their brothers for a decisive battle. However, it should be that the spiky-haired beasts have quantity and the centaurs have quality, and the 2 sides are evenly matched. But now there is a problem. After gathering together, the spiky-haired beasts are obviously not as good as the centaurs after one team is missing. Yuffie smiled secretly. The missing team should be the spiky-haired beast tribe that was discovered and slaughtered by the exploration team. Sure enough, in the direction where the exploration troops came from, a few lone spiky-haired beast barbarians rushed over, gathered around the spiky-haired beast emperor, and hummed a few words. After listening to the humming of the spiky-haired beast barbarians, the spiky-haired beast emperor seemed very angry, but helpless. These spiky-haired beast barbarians were the remnants of the spiky-haired beast tribe that escaped in the stone forest. The spiky-haired beasts and centaurs that came quickly gathered around their bosses. The JMS and centaurs that were still fighting in the melee also separated and gathered around their respective bosses. 2 huge clusters of wild monsters appeared in the wasteland, with nearly 1,000 wild monsters on both sides. The units of both sides faced each other from a distance, and the atmosphere became very tense. Chapter 1. Please Sanjiang. Good rhyme. Thank you for the handsome reward of 100 starting coins from Brother Yang. Chapter 72. Big Melee. The tense atmosphere was soon broken, and the centaurs launched the attack first. Relying on their long-range advantage, the centaur's great wizard ordered the nearly 50 centaurs longbowmen and more than 100 centaurs archers to shoot arrows at the Shafa beast camp. The centaurs longbowmen and centaurs archers were difficult to compare with the Night Elf archers in terms of range and accuracy, and the second level centaurs archers were even worse than the Night Elf archers in terms of attack power. So under the centaurs' round of arrow rain, the Shafa beasts only lost some low-level Shafa beast scouts. However, this loss still made the Shafa beast emperor very angry. The Shafa beasts originally won by numbers in the mid to low-end combat power. This time, because of some foreign creatures, they lost a team, and it was originally difficult to suppress the centaurs in terms of numbers. Now if the centaurs longbowmen and centaurs were allowed to attack recklessly, the Legion War would lose even more. At the command of the Emperor of the Shrike Beasts, the 20 Shrike Beast doctors gathered and summoned 40 soul pigs. Led by the Soul Pigs, the Shrike Beast's army rushed towards the Centaurs. The Centaurs were not to be outdone. Under the leadership of 9 Centaur leaders, more than 70 Centaur pioneers and nearly 180 Centaur laborers also rushed towards the Shrike Beasts. The tactics used by the Centaur wizard were very similar to those of the Night Elves. Both melee units took the lead, and the ranged units shot and killed the enemy as much as they could. It seems that this is the case in frontal battles. Embarrassing. Although the tactics were old-fashioned, they were very effective. Before the melee units of the two sides collided, the Soul Pigs of the Shrike Beasts were almost all shot and killed. However, the Soul Pigs were summoned by the Shrike Beasts to be cannon fodder. After the two armies came into contact, it was difficult for the Centaur Longbowmen and Centaur Archers to attack. After all, they did not have the accuracy of the Night Elf Archers, and accidentally hurting the melee Centaur would only cause trouble. On the Shrike Beast side, the Shrike Beast Doctor can barely be considered a ranged unit. Although this long distance is a bit disappointing, it can also provide some firepower support for the melee Shrike Beasts. Moreover, they also insert a stick that radiates light around in the Shrike Beast camp from time to time and heal the injuries of the surrounding Shrike Beasts very quickly. This is a healing spell of the Shrike Beast Doctor. Summon a healing ward, which provides 2% of the upper limit of health per second for the surrounding units and lasts for 30 seconds. The effect of this healing ward is very powerful. Not only is the healing speed fast, but the healing range is also wide, and the continuous healing output is very considerable. In addition, the casting interval of this skill is exactly the same as the skill duration, and the healing ward can be quickly replaced after it disappears. With the advantage of the healing guards, the spiky beasts were able to fight the centaurs successfully for a while. But soon, the centaur wizard also noticed the threat of the healing guards. The spiky beast doctor hid outside the range of the centaur longbowmen and centaur archers, and could not attack them, so he could only attack the summoned healing guards. Under the command of the centaur wizard, the centaur longbowmen, who were slightly better than the centaur archers, turned their targets to the small sticks stuck in the ground. Swish, 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 a rain of arrows shot at the 20 healing guards stuck in different places. After being attacked by arrows, the healing guard shook for a while, and then they all disappeared. This is exactly the defect of the healing guards compared with the single target healing spells of the shadow priests and senior priests of the tree demons. The healing ability of the healing guards is much stronger, but the healing guards are entities, and can be attacked. Moreover, in Warcraft, the health value of the healing guards are, here it should be said, that the durability value. The durability of the healing ward is only 5, and the armor value is 0. This means that even a human peasant can destroy the healing ward with one blow, not to mention the arrows of the centaur longbowmen. Under the arrows of the centaur longbowmen, the healing wards were destroyed one after another. After the skill of the sharp-haired beast doctor cooled down, he summoned the healing wards again, but they were destroyed by the rain of arrows from the centaur longbowmen. Now, the sharp-haired beast doctor could only stare blankly. Although the centaur longbowmen could not attack the sharp-haired beast doctor, the positions of the sharp-haired beasts and centaurs in the melee could be attacked. As soon as the healing ward appeared, the centaur longbowmen would fly a wave of arrows over, and the healing effect would be lost. The sharp-haired beasts, who lost their healing advantage, soon showed a decline under the long-range and short-range attacks of the centaurs. However, the battle in the high-end combat power boosted the morale of the sharp-haired beasts, and it was considered to have turned the situation around a little. The sharp-haired beasts also had 10 sharp-haired beast commanders in the high-end combat power. After each of them fought a centaur leader of the same level, there was still one left to wreak havoc among the centaur forerunners and centaurpians. The sharp-haired beast emperor had learned his lesson this time, and did not run to the low and middle level centaurs to release his skills. Instead, he attacked a hapless centaur leader together with a sharp-haired beast commander. The centaur leader was already far inferior to the sharp-haired beast emperor, and there was another sharp-haired beast commander of the same level who was besieging the sharp-haired beast emperor. He was soon killed by a hammer from the sharp-haired beast emperor. By the way, I have to add here that, while the troops of the two sides were gathering just now, the sharp-haired beast emperor had already picked up his weapon. After killing a centaur leader, the shrewd sharp-haired beast emperor ordered the sharp-haired beast commander who was freed up to wreak havoc among the low and middle level centaurs. It then went to the side of a spiky beast leader and besieged the centaur leader. With this tactic, the centaurs soon had only 6 centaur leaders left. The centaur wizard frowned. If this continued, the centaur's high-end combat power would soon be lost. The spiky beast emperor and the spiky beast leaders would form an elite team to charge left and right in the centaur camp like the small melee just now, creating chaos. The low and medium level centaurs would definitely not be able to withstand the impact of the epic spiky beast emperor and up to 10 spiky beast leaders. After the centaur's formation was scattered, it would be a replica of the chaotic spiky beast camp just now. Ordering the centaur longbowmen and centaur archers to continue long-range output, the centaur wizard began to prepare spells. Chapter 2. It's 2 o'clock. Everyone, vote for Sanjiang and keep the first place. Thanks to Frindxk for the reward of 400 Kidian coins. Chapter 73. Heading to the volcano. The centaur wizard naturally prepared a powerful skill for group attack, Fire Rain. After 5 waves of fire rain, not to mention the slightly higher level spiky beasts, at least the spiky beast scouts would die. However, the centaur wizard was forced to interrupt the fire rain after only 1 wave. A huge rock condensed by the earth element hit it, causing considerable damage and making it dizzy, and the continuous release of the fire rain will of course be interrupted in this case. Yufei discovered a phenomenon that no matter whether it was the kobold fortune teller, the tree demon high priest, or the spiky beast emperor and the centaur wizard in front of him, they all seemed to have 5 skills. The kobold fortune teller had the skills of bloodlust, fire of the heart, flicker, nothingness, and the true eye that could see through the invisible owl. The tree demon high priest had also used the 5 skills of frost nova, blizzard, frost armor, flame storm, and medical wave. The 2 big bosses, Emperor of the Spiky Beasts and Great Centaur Wizard, also have 5 skills. Do all the mutant monsters after their advent have 5 skills? Raziel, the chief of the Stonomall tribe, is probably not mutated, so as the head of the tribe, he was killed by the Night Elves in the early stage. In this case, you have to be careful. Be careful of their trump cards when you encounter mutant monsters in the future. After Emperor of the Spiky Beasts used throwing stones to interrupt the Great Centaur Wizard's spellcasting, he continued to cooperate with the Spiky Beast leader to kill the Centaur leader, but did not use Savage Charge to attack the Great Centaur Wizard. Now the Great Centaur Wizard is far away, there are too many units on the field, and the Great Centaur Wizard must have been prepared, so Savage Charge will not have much effect, even if it is used. It is better to leave some magic points. The Great Centaur Wizard was also restless at this time. His spellcasting was interrupted, and Emperor of the Spiky Beasts continued to kill his men unscrupulously. If this goes on, even if the centaurs have a long-range advantage, they will collapse under the crushing attack of the high-end combat power of the Spiky Beasts. So, under the command of the centaur's great wizard, the centaurs changed their tactics. And this tactic made Yufei, who was peeping, stunned. It was actually a kite tactic. That's right, the centaurs withdrew from the melee area with their speed higher than the spiky beasts. Then the melee centaurs forerunners and centaurs peons surrounded the long-range centaurs longbowmen and centaurs archers and started a mobile war. Now it was the turn of the spiky beasts to be depressed. The attack range of the spiky beast doctor was too close, and the light balls he emitted could not hit the centaurs who had been staying at a certain distance, but the centaurs' arrows kept pouring down on the heads of the spiky beasts. The kite tactic of the centaurs was extremely wretched, and it was the essence of the 16-character mantra of the asterisk asterisk asterisk. As soon as the spiky-haired beasts approached, the centaurs ran away. The 3 legs of the spiky-haired beasts could not catch up with the 5 legs of the centaurs. This has appeared 3 times, but people still ask. As long as everyone understands that the spiky-haired beasts and centaurs here are all male, it will be fine. They could only eat dust. When the spiky-haired beasts stopped chasing, the centaurs also stood still, aimed at the spiky-haired beasts and started shooting. After several rounds of this, the spiky-haired beast emperor was both angry and helpless. It could catch up with the centaurs with a brutal charge, but why would it? A pig. Chase them? Want to die? Epic creatures are also afraid of being beaten up. But the spiky-haired beast emperor changed his mind and came up with a solution. Then Yufei saw that the spiky-haired beast troops began to move towards the volcano under the leadership of the spiky-haired beast emperor. He quickly asked the exploration troops to make way and continue to hide. He was still waiting for the spiky beasts and the centaurs to fight each other, and the fishermen would benefit. If the spiky beast army ran into the exploration troops might be able to defeat these spiky beasts, but they would definitely suffer heavy casualties. The centaur wizard was shocked. He was afraid that the spiky beast emperor would think of this method. They could run around and fight guerrilla warfare, but the holy objects could not run away. The spiky beast emperor ran to where the creatures were, and he could only follow him to fight head on. After all, this decisive battle was originally for the ownership of the holy objects. If the spiky beast emperor got the holy objects in front, the losses of this battle would be in vain. Then, the centaur wizard gave an order, and the centaur troops followed the spiky beast troops and ran towards the volcano. Yufei was also confused in his heart. What was going on? Why didn't they fight, but ran to the volcano? Did they want to take a hot spring bath? No. A lava bath? No. There must be something wrong here. Maybe there is some treasure. Yufei didn't expect that his random guess would be close to the truth. Yufei ordered the exploration team to follow the centaur team and head towards the volcano. Anyway, they were going to explore the volcano. Now if you look down from the sky above the wasteland, you will see a huge army of spiky beasts heading from north to south towards the volcano in the center of the wasteland. And behind them, a centaur team is also chasing the spiky beasts with 4 hooves raising dust, constantly shortening the distance with the spiky beasts. At the back, a team composed of a group of wolves and some night elves is quietly following the first 2 teams. When there is less than 1,000 meters left to the volcano, the centaur team caught up with the spiky beasts. This time, although the centaur knew that they could not defeat the high-end combat power of the spiky beasts, they could only rush forward under the death order of the centaur wizard and entangle the spiky beasts. At this time, there were only 5 centaur leaders left on the centaur side, while the 10 centaur commanders on the spiky beast side, except for the spiky beast emperor, were still alive and kicking. So as soon as they came into contact, the melee troops of the centaur side suffered a loss. With one blow from the spiky beast emperor, a centaur forerunner would be killed. The centaur leaders who could barely block a few attacks were afraid of the beating of the spiky beast emperor and the spiky beast commanders, so they were afraid to move forward and fought very aggrievedly. However, after all, they still had the long range advantage in the centaur great wizard, so it was still difficult to determine the winner for a while. Yufei simply didn't care about the ongoing melee, but asked Tyrant to rush to the volcano to find out what was going on. He had a hunch in his heart that he would find something at the volcano. As for why the owl was not used to investigate, it was naturally because the duration of the owl had expired and Tyrant had to leave some magic points to prepare for the possible battle in a while. So Tyrant went to investigate directly. Sorry everyone, the 3rd chapter is a bit late, but I still ask for Sanjiang votes. Thanks to Nangan Jianlin for 100 starting coins and Zuayu Zingan for 100 starting coins. Chapter 74 An Egg in the Crater. While the spiky beasts and centaurs were fighting again, they had no time to care about the situation on the volcano. In addition, it was night, so Tyrant's night elf talent naturally played a role, and she quickly arrived at the foot of the volcano. This volcano is actually not very high, with a relative height of only about 200 or 300 meters. It is only because the surrounding area is flat that it can be seen from a distance. Riding the white tiger for a while, Tyrant came to the top of the volcano. At this point, the temperature has reached an extremely high level, and the white tiger is so hot that it seems to shrink its hands and feet, as if the white tiger has no hands. Patting the white tiger and comforting it, the white tiger carried Tyrant and leaped again, arriving at the top of the volcano. The situation at the top of the volcano made Yufei, who had been observing with Tyrant's vision, feel extremely incredible. The crater of this volcano is not very large, with a diameter of only about 40 meters, and a building above the crater that is obviously not naturally formed attracted Tyrant's attention. This building, or it can't be called a building, it is just a relatively rough stone altar, which exists right above the crater. Of course, the stone platform is not suspended in the air. There are stone stairs extending from all four sides of it. The 4 stone stairs support the stone platform like pillars to prevent it from falling into the magma below. Tyrant slowly walked up the stone platform on the white tiger along the stone stairs. Strangely, it was not that hot here, and the white tiger did not feel the pain of burning his paws. What's going on? Tyrant was a little confused. At this time, Yufei could no longer observe here from a god's perspective. For some reason, after arriving at the crater, Yufei could only communicate with Tyrant mentally, and could not use that omniscient vision to explore the surroundings. Yufei was thoughtful. This god's perspective was not invincible. It might fail under the interference of some extreme environments and mysterious forces. Now it was only Tyrant who could observe the situation here, and inform herself through mental communication. When Tyrant was about to walk from the stone stairs to the stone platform, her eyes suddenly fixed. She discovered why the temperature in the crater had dropped instead. When approaching the stone platform, Tyrant saw that below the stone platform, a series of fiery red breaths were extracted from the magma and then sank into the stone platform. And the magma from which this fiery red breath was extracted, the color of that piece of magma darkened and sank into the magma lake. These fiery red breaths are clearly fire element. According to the news conveyed by Tyrant, Yufei thought about it for a while and understood why the temperature of the volcanic wasteland was so abnormal. The stone platform must have been transformed by some mysterious power and had the ability to extract fire element. The fire element of the volcano is naturally the most abundant. The extraction of the stone platform caused a large area of magma energy to gather on the side of the volcanic wasteland, which made the temperature of this area abnormally high. In the crater, the fire element was extracted by the stone platform, so it was not so hot. Is there really a treasure? Yufei was a little excited. With such a big battle, sometimes there is really something. It must be annoying. Think about what fire items are there in Warcraft. Fireball? No, this is too low level. It will definitely not cause a big fight between the spiky beasts and the centaurs. The fire element in the flame bolt can be filled up on this stone platform in a few minutes. Then, the flame windbreaker? No, the flame windbreaker is the flame of sacrifice, not pure fire element. Scorching blade? Just like the flame ball. What will it be if the level is not enough? It would be the dragon heart in Dota. Tyrant finally rode the white tiger onto the stone platform. On the stone platform, the fiery red mist lingered in the center of the stone platform, but it was obvious that these fire element were constantly decreasing, and then the stone platform would draw fire element from the magma to replenish them. There seemed to be something in the middle of the mist formed by the gathering of these fire element, but it was a little unclear because of the mist. Tyrant took a few steps forward and carefully observed the situation in the midst of the fire element, while Yufei, who could not observe from the perspective of God, was anxiously waiting for Tyrant to pass on the news. What did Tyrant see in the mist? To know what happened next, please listen to the next analysis. Brick. Well, Yufei, who was anxiously waiting, finally got the news from Tyrant. Tyrant's discovery was just 3 words: an egg. Yufei was stunned for a moment. Illidan? Isn't that a demon hunter? After a long time, Yufei realized that Tyrant had found a big egg. Such a big battle is just for this egg. Phoenix egg? It seems that this egg has been here for a long time. Why are the spiky beasts and centaurs only starting to fight for it now? Just as Yufei was thinking about these questions, Tyrant discovered something. The fire element mist gathered on the stone platform suddenly stopped surging, and the magma under the stone platform that had been draining energy no longer transmitted fire element to the bottom of the stone platform. What's going on? Yufei, who received the information from Tyrant, felt extremely frustrated. He had always relied on his omniscient vision to discover various situations, but now he was depressed. He couldn't see the scene, so he could only guess. Could it be that the egg was cooked? Just a wild guess. This stone platform is obviously used to provide energy for the egg on it to hatch. Now that the energy supply has stopped, it means that the egg has enough energy and is about to hatch. This should be the case. Before, the egg was not ready to hatch, so the spiky beasts and centaurs did not fight for it. Now that the egg is about to hatch, the spiky beast emperor and the centaur wizard have gathered all the strength of the tribe to fight a decisive battle. It seems that this egg is really a treasure. You spiky beasts and centaurs can fight, and Tyrande will accept this egg on behalf of the great tree of life. Under Euphen's order, Tyrande took the egg off the stone platform, then rode the white tiger down the volcano, and returned to the exploration team. However, it was thought that without the extraction of the stone platform, the temperature in the crater would reach a terrifying height. Unexpectedly, according to Tyrande's feelings, although the temperature in the crater has increased a little, it is not unbearable. While going down the volcano, Tyrande discovered that the temperature on the volcano was gradually decreasing. Although the speed was very slow, the temperature of the entire volcano was constantly decreasing. I think the temperature of the entire volcanic wasteland was the same. TODAY' first chapter. Chapter 75 Red Young Dragon. After the stone platform stopped gathering the energy in the magma energy under the volcanic wasteland would no longer gather here. On the contrary, the huge energy originally gathered under the volcanic wasteland would slowly spread to other places through the ground veins. In this way, the volcanic wasteland will no longer have a terrifying high temperature. This is good news for Euphen, because if he wants to migrate to the Warcraft mountains, he must pass through the volcanic wasteland. The detour is too far. If the volcanic wasteland is still as hot as before, it will definitely have more adverse impact on Euphen's migration. After all, although he has called himself the Black Mountain Old Demon, he is still a tree. The high temperature of the volcanic wasteland will make him wilt. The phenomenon of temperature reduction gradually occurred from the volcano to the surrounding area, so after a while, the centaurs and spiky beasts who were fighting fiercely discovered this situation. At this time, the spiky beast emperor and the centaur wizard were both shocked. The holy object was born. The two beasts looked at each other at the same time, and made up their minds to resolve the battle as soon as possible. The emperor of the sharp-haired beasts and the great centaur wizard obviously didn't know that, even if they fought hard to defeat the enemy and won, they would not get the egg. Moreover, they might face a group of yellow sparrows. In the exploration team, the egg that Tyrande brought back from the stone platform was placed on the ground, being observed by Tyrande, Luna and Avril. Of course, they couldn't observe anything, so they still had to rely on their father Euphen to take action. With the help of Tyrande as a carrier, Euphen used his mental power to scan the egg that absorbed countless fire element. After the huge mental power swept through, Euphen was surprised to find that his mental power could hardly penetrate the eggshell of this egg. Euphen was a little embarrassed. Was he going to lose face in front of his creation? However, the next moment, the egg changed. This egg was placed in the center of the exploration team. The wild wolves and the night elves retreated a distance and left a small open space. The egg suddenly made a crackling sound in the center of the open space, and the entire exploration team could hear it. Is it going to hatch? Looking at the cracks on the eggshell that gradually appeared from shallow to deep, Euphen guessed. Before everyone had to wait for long, the cracks on the egg became larger and larger, and finally with a click, a large crack appeared on the top. A small red head poked out from the crack, but it hadn't opened its eyes yet. Judging from the head, the creature in the egg seemed to be a lizard? No way. With such a big scene, it would definitely not be a fire lizard. Maybe it was a red dragon? Euphen couldn't help but feel a little excited. After a while, the whole egg broke into several pieces under the struggle of the cub inside, and everyone could finally see its full appearance. At first glance, this cub looked like a red lizard, but a closer look showed that the cub had two small horns on its head and a pair of very young wings on its back. This is clearly a red dragon cub. This time it's Rick. After being freed from the egg, the red dragon cub seemed to have the intention of opening its eyes. Euphen suddenly thought of the novels he had read, where the protagonists of the monster eggs and other things were allowed to let the cub see him at first sight when they hatched, so that they could develop feelings for each other. But now he was still thousands of miles away, so depressed. Why didn't he have the treatment of the protagonists of those novels? At Euphen's reminder, Tyrande jumped swiftly from the back of the white tiger to the front of the red dragon cub. It was a coincidence that, just when Tyrande landed lightly in front of the red dragon cub, the red dragon cub fluttered its two front paws and then opened its eyes. Naturally, the first person the red dragon cub saw was Tyrande. Seeing Tyrant, the red dragon cub uttered an incomprehensible muttering, and then turned into a red light, and pounced into Tyrant's arms. Caught off guard, Tyrant stumbled and almost fell, but finally adjusted with her legendary strength, and saved the red dragon cub. Seeing the speed of the red dragon cub, Yufei was stunned again. This thing is Lu Yaz Lihuo Changhong, right? It was just born, but its speed is comparable to the speed of the female hunter riding the Black Panther at full speed. Yufei thought of a plot in the novel again, so he asked Tyrant to hold the red dragon cub and come to the eggshell of the dragon egg and put the red dragon cub close to the eggshell. The red dragon cub blinked its big eyes and looked at its mother in confusion, as if it didn't understand. Yufei's head hung down a few vines. No, a few black lines. Yai novels are harmful. Who said that Warcraft will eat its own eggshells after hatching? Come to think of it, there are no oviparous animals eating eggshells on Earth. Eggshells are made of calcium carbonate. Why do you need to supplement calcium and drink 3 elite blue bottles of calcium to eat it? This is definitely not an advertisement. Well, our great father god of the Night Elves has lost face in front of his creation. Depressed, Yufei began to scan with mental power to check the properties of the red dragon cub. Red Dragonling, special unit attack type, chaos attack range. 100 attack speed, fast attack power, movement speed, fast armor type, heavy armor, health, mana, features, primary scorching breath. The breath of the red dragon is extremely scorching, and each attack causes the target to continuously suffer weaker burning damage, which lasts for 10 seconds. Primary magic immunity, immune to the effects of magic at level 5, gold level, and below, and weakens the effects of magic above level 5. The degree of weakening depends on the power of the magic, including buff magic. Skills, explosive breath, consumes a small amount of magic points, making the breath of the red dragon cause 200% of the damage of a normal attack, with an additional 50% splash effect. Durable aura, increases the movement speed of friendly forces within a range of 300 meters by 10% and the attack speed by 5%. Oh my god, is this a newly born creature? Damn, just from the attributes, it can be compared with the Terror Wolf. And look at the characteristics, whether it is a burning breath or magic immunity, they are both extremely strong talents. The previous elementary level indicates that these two talents will be strengthened as a red dragon grows up. In the end, the red dragon will probably become the nightmare of all magicians in this alien world. As far as Yufei knows, although there are dragons in the Slays continent, and they also have the talent called magic immunity, the so-called magic immunity only weakens the effects of low-level magic, and has a very small effect on high-level magic at legendary epic myth level. I think it should be, because the bloodline is not pure enough. Underscore 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 underscore. The true face of the holy object is finally exposed. I didn't think of it before these 2 chapters. There are only 2 chapters today. This network is too unstable. Hanchan will use a notebook to publish this chapter. Thank you Tong and Fifi for the reward of 8888 starting coins. And thank you for the handsome reward of 200 starting coins. Congratulations to Tong and Fifi for becoming the first Hall Master of this book. Men are not strong enough. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.